Hello, everyone. This, of course, is Gamer 1745, and we're getting ready to do the live stream. The live streams have been very popular, even later. I'm sometime going to go into it. I think I've got some more evidence of being shadow banned. Don't think it's like some grand conspiracy that they hate me or something like that. I think it's just that maybe I use words like Nazi and Hitler too much. And of course, because I know some very prominent YouTubers, use like the bad guys from World War II or whatever. But I'm just talking about World War II enough that I'm not going to tiptoe around historical terms. So, mentioning all that, oh, and hi, my friend Arno, who is already here, who actually got to the chat before I actually started the stream button. So I was getting ready at the time. Is to help with that, if you can hit that like button, if you can post a comment now, if you're watching later on YouTube or whatever. But we are, hey, live right now on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So we are live everywhere. So yes. But if you are watching, make a comment. That really does help. And we are in October 39. I don't think we're going to get to the war today. Yeah, or well, the war started. We can see that here in Europe, but not, I'm saying, as American. We're going to be watching the war in Europe. Now, okay, so let's get to actually making episodes. Just want to let everybody know, because sometimes some of these videos will get 800 plus views later on. So obviously you sort of start at the beginning. And of course you can jump ahead to different parts in it. So sometimes there are very good rants and other things there. And so we are going to be playing for approximately 3.5 hours. So let's get going here. Welcome, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice 11.2, and of course we're playing as the United States of America. Now, oh boy, I forget. Is it Song? Sorry, forget names. That post recommended to build divisions without HQs, and I'm going to pass that along because you will get a lot of HQs once the war starts, they say, as America. Again, I've not played as America, so I do not know. Now, we will be mid 41. We will be sending a bunch of divisions to the Philippines and Guam in particular, which will be before the war. So those either will need to be pre-existing divisions. Stillwell. Was he a divisional commander at this time? Is he still a fort? Yeah, that's good. Well, yes, you are, of course, first over there. All right, so let's speed this up. I just don't think I can get through, well, almost 2 years in a sitting here. Now let's speed this up to the max speed. Wish there was something in between max and this, and the second one down, but something that will give me a little better time to react to things. Okay, Iran, no. Solar blueprints. Hope they were friendly peoples. Friendly nation and stealing their blueprints. Trust me, there is various industrial and other technology espionage going on between friendly nations. Okay. Officers. Now we have 110% officers, but we're not really building up our military right now, so we're not using them, but I think we will start at some point. Okay. Sending craft flotillas. Let's see if there's a more pressing thing we need. Okay, we can invest a Okay, aluminum mines online. That'll cost us 2,000 money. And construction has finished, so we've paid for our construction. Help. You don't really mine aluminum. Now I know. Did I talk about things I'm not sure on? Maybe not, but aluminum or aluminium. I contend that those are two different words that mean the same thing. Aluminium is the British word, not just pronunciation. It is actually spelled different. And aluminum is the American English word. So two different words mean the same thing. It comes from aloe. I don't know why Hungary has this here. I'm not sure, but most of the aluminum comes from bauxite. It's an aluma or whatever type thing, and it's formed in the tropics with in wet regions, and it needs. I forget some of the details, but it's formed in the tropics. And I know, like Ghana today, because there's a big lake here, because they've dammed up the river here, and they have it locally, the bauxite, and you need a lot of electricity to make aluminum, because you have to electrify the bauxite as part of its process, I believe. So you need lots of electricity to make aluminum. So no electricity, no aluminum. So I'm not quite sure whether there was sometime in the distant past or something, the conditions there, I don't know, that get the bauxite. But the bauxite isn't the only limiting factor. It's also, and so most there are today. I know there are some aluminum manufactories down, in this part of the world, but a lot of it is just simply mined and like brought to the U.S. or some other place where you have better access to the large amounts of electricity. Because unless you have a local good source of electricity, like a hydropower plant or something like a coal or oil or whatever you want to burn locally, unless you have it there, you're either shipping in huge amounts of, in the modern day sense would be coal or oil, because you're not going to do it off of just a few wind farms. I'm sure you could eventually make enough windmills or whatever to do it, but it's not just going to be a simple, easy, a few wind turbines to do it. You got to do a lot of electricity. So you're going to be shipping in either a lot of oil or coal, or you might as well just ship the bauxite out. You're going to have to be doing one or the other. So unless you have both locally, it's better just to mine it and ship it. I know you wanted a lecture on aluminum, but it is an important metal, and I have been sort of looking into it for stuff around this time period. Okay, armor car designs. And why it was not just why it was critical, because it's a reasonably strong, very lightweight material, and that's why it was important, but why it was, if you will, a bottleneck in production here. Okay, we probably will get that sometime, but I think we'll do truck and prime mover reliability increase here first. Hey, Eric. Good to have you here, my friend. Mountain HQs have advanced. I'd rather sort of get some of the more generic stuff done. Have you... Oh, Eric, I don't know if you've gotten with Strongarm yet, but you might just be able to get with him and be able to download a PDF copy of his computer's manual, because I know all of the various things I've ever bought have a download PDF manual kind of thing. So instead of having him take pictures of the manual and or the computer, the manual will probably have diagrams of the computer, and will probably have all the information. Oh, you already did everything. Great, 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 great. Good to hear. Good to hear. I just thought of that last night and thought I would mention it to you as a solution. Eric was helping out another one of my friends, Strongarm, who both you often see playing here. War Thunder and other things on the channel with a new computer. And Toyjet is here. Don't humor him too much because he thinks he's a beluga whale. Okay. Thought I had down here in Norfolk. Okay, yeah. Scouting force. Owing. Yeah, let's do Atlantic Squadron. Destroyer in there. Let's see what type of destroyer this is. Mahan class. Okay. Not that they mean a whole lot of names, but in this game. Iran. No, we're not trading with Iran. Not those strategic resources. I would trade some of this stuff with Iran. Well, mental illness is a problem. And I think we are humoring. Maybe mental illness with a lot of people is not dangerous, and trying to cure their mental illness probably would be a good thing, but unless you're actually going to seriously work to cure their mental illness, um, you know, um, you know, you might just be messing with them harder. Meaning, if you're not doing, such a good job. But so you might think, well, just humor the people with mental illness because it doesn't do any harm. Well, there are sometimes people that need mental help and need to be told that. So yes, looks like you are growing slowly and getting stronger. Yes, right now I have not. I'm only been building, actively building. There's some of these guys sort of in the production line here, but doing some heavy industry. As you can see, I'm switching over to building ships, because you can look here. September 42. I mean, there's still probably going to be a lot of war left in September 42 for the battleship to be useful. But and here's February 42. The carriers will get done a little sooner. March 43 for May 43 here for this other battleship. Battleships took a long time to build, so I'm focusing on getting that now. And I don't know whether I should or shouldn't be building more industry. I want to, but I also think I want a big navy, a big navy. The truth doesn't mean, yeah, that's mm-hmm. You really are a beluga, you say. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. And I actually know he doesn't believe he's a beluga. He just wants to pretend he believes he's a beluga. But even that is still. Okay, now we have the Enterprise. Now, I think Okay, that's the... Okay, yeah, this is it. The CVO. Maybe that's where I should put that last destroyer. Probably, but okay. Whatever. I make mistakes. They can be corrected. Just left. There we go. Okay, so Halsey has 2 carriers and 3 light cruisers and 2 destroyers right now. This is going to be a carrier force here. It is. That's looking at being, we can move some of these other guys over maybe. As opposed to over here we see battleship forces with a carrier in support. So that's, there's another one over here somewhere. Click, yeah, Saratoga. Because what I want to keep, I want my battleships to always have some carrier air support with them and not relying upon shifting fleets and to be momentarily without it. So I always want to, and again for tactics, what I want to do is I want to have something like the carriers sitting in this sea hex, launching aircraft and attacking naval units in this other sea province, I should say, or whatever you want to call it, sea zone. You know, so that you should not want to get carriers in surface action with the enemy. But I also want to make sure if we are having surface actions with the enemy, I want to make sure they still have air support constantly with them. Time to haul ass with Halsey. Yeah, that was, I think, a bit of a saying back then. Air Force HQs. Okay, yes, we'll be back. I don't know whether we'll wait all the way until 41 or not, but some of these things, like light anti-aircraft artillery, I believe are upgradable on the ship. Other things like armor thickness and whatnot are not, unless you put it back through the production queue. And we don't want to be doing that. So we are trying to, where I think most critical, push ahead early on. Yep, so this is very different than my normal playthroughs, because normally ToyJet is asking me to build battleships and things, but now I'm already doing it. Now we could get some submarine rules. Put them on. And armored HQs, very well. Here and work on submarine berthing. Be ready to upgrade there. Good to see both of these. Let's get both H4 and Air Force HQs. Now let's over here. Don't know how much an air wing here. Okay. We are still having a bit of a overdone, in my opinion. Not that these have much suppression, but I don't know how we're going to use these air wing HQ types. Germany, I like to go, hey, because I understand in reality why you would organize and attach air wings to particular fronts, but since I'm a human and playing the game, I just want to go, we'll give you the map so you can see what we're looking at with Germany. We're taking out Poland. You know, I want to be able to find all my fighters and see if there's any fighter wings that are being heavily damaged that I want to take out of combat to have them reinforced, because that'll be better than having to build new ones. Cheaper and faster than building new air wings. Or if I'm looking and seeing air wings that aren't currently operational because I've taken them off from being operating, or if I just like, hey, there's a front sector that is in desperate need of fighters, where can I scrape them up from and look and see, and so they're all in one place, or bombers or naval bombers or whatever I'm looking for. I like that. But for Germany, mostly that, you know, we're playing in and around here, and shifting forces around isn't, you know, it's sort of a limited front area. But since the U.S. is going to be global, we're going to have a European theater of operations that potentially, I'm not saying it will or won't, but potentially could, cover all of this, including maybe, I'm just saying potentially we could be pushing in through the Eastern Front here somehow. Don't know that we will, but it's a potential. So it's potentially all of this, and it's also going to be all of the Japanese elements here, and I don't know, air operations off of here. The Americans, there were a lot of air operations here going after submarine hunting and things like that. So you very well may get need a home front Air Force HQ. So I don't yet know how I'm going to organize up. But like I say, we have a revolt problem. These areas sort of are revolting a bit. So let's see if we can reduce down a bit more. I know these HQs aren't going to be overly useful at that, but it's still better than so now the core armor units. Okay, look at that. That sort of organized up. Does that have, yes. No, Army Mountain is a little ways away. I moved it. Army Mountain. Yes. Well, maybe that Army Mountain is full. Okay, so let's see. Here. Closer one, but it probably is already, yeah, filled up. That's why. Okay, well, we'll just send you down. Well, Pittsburgh, to try to keep the peace down in Pittsburgh. I wanted revolt risk on, and I wanted them to do their worst, but I was thinking historical to, like, I don't know, when we occupy places that may not be, core American territories or something, that they might have revolt risks and whatnot. Not this sort of home front BS. Okay, so now we're at aluminum surplus, so air build speed is much better. Let's just do this if we're going to build any, but we'll let maybe these few build out here. Oh, these are smaller. Okay, yeah, these are 2 wings here. You can see because they're set up. These were the ones pre-done that were meant to be launched with the Yorktown or the Enterprise. But we'll get them out there. Interception. Okay. Tactics. Okay, so they're at 38, which ain't, bad for this being 38. Move that down to there. And fall wise enforced. Okay, so Germany has taken Poland. Yes, okay, heavy bomber prototypes have advanced. Sad elements of history, for sure. Okay, yes. We are going to, we will need to do, invest in the scientific community here. Okay. Well, right now we're doing okay. I mean, we're doing pretty good there at 120, but we very well may pump up our industry a lot more. 39, that's okay-ish. 67, that's very good. 360, okay, we got plenty of oil, so we definitely don't need to go after that. See, all of these need 20,000. Well, that just needs 10,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, and scientific is 10,000. But we're going to do our scientific community. That'll get our research back up. Yes, you can have energy. There's somebody ranting outside my window. I can't really understand them either, but okay, we were checking. Okay, 1940, and um, yeah, we want to have better battery capacity. Mexico, Sims class destroyer. Okay, yeah, I guess you can do that. That won't hurt me. Okay, air superiority tactics. That is here. I understand why this, like I was saying earlier in the start of the live stream, and I was talking with Eric and a few others about why I think I am being shadow banned. That's probably well, I don't know, suppressed, shadow suppressed on here. Um, and because a few times, for some reason, and even like some of these live streams that have literally the same title or almost exactly the same title used for different live streams with the same thumbnail or virtually so, sometimes this just takes off a few days later, and it's on it. And I can see from the statistics, it's all from YouTube recommended. So either like recommend, on the side of your screen over here, you get, while you're playing somebody else's video, you get recommended what other possible things, or recommended by your home screen recommendations. And so it's what most of those are. And so it's not somebody searching for something like Hearts of Iron 3 Black Ice and finding it, like somehow maybe triggered from, say, being posted on an external forum. Few times I've had videos take off that I trace back to where they're coming from. They're coming from some pirating website for the software, and they just link to the video as to what the software is about, kind of, game is about. But these are all coming from recommendations. So if YouTube were to recommend my videos more, literally almost like 10 times the number of views I get. So I figure, and this is just a few times recently, so I really figure I'm shadow banned. Because I can go a whole video without mentioning Nazis and Hitler and whatnot, but yeah, we're going to have tactics and gun turrets and pants. So I don't necessarily think it's because, like I mentioned, anti SJW or anti woke things. Yeah, we're gonna go here. Strike tactics up, or something like that. Because I don't really think I'm big enough and important enough. Well, this really fits Naval HQs. And for them to do it, I just really think it is based of this fleet command way over here. Okay, we have this fleet. Let's attach him to fleet here. Let's do a little organization here. Okay, so what do we have here? Pacific High Command. U.S. Battle Force HQ. Okay, so this is Pacific High Command under MacArthur. General Douglas MacArthur. Now, he was never Pacific High Command. There wasn't a specific high command until, as far as I would say, you might catch me on a technicality here, but until Nimitz is put in charge. And where MacArthur was a general in the United States Army, and you may notice all of that extra, what they sometimes call scrambled eggs, on his hat, all the extra stuff. I don't know how much that was an affectation of MacArthur or just already previously established stuff, because he was like a field marshal or something like that in the Philippines Army. That is why he had all that extra stuff on his hat, his cap, that you don't find in any of the other generals, is because that was specifically because he was like a field marshal of the Philippines Army. So that is sort of a high command or whatever, but again, specifically for the Philippines, which doesn't affect his rank in the United States Army. It just gives him control over the Philippines forces, and I think he liked the way it looked. So, like, I do think it's part of his affectation, yes. Okay, but we have out here, okay, Asiatic Fleet, Eisenhower, Philippines Department. Now, Eisenhower, for a while, if I'm not mistaken, was MacArthur's executive officer. And Eisenhower thought MacArthur was very, very showy. Well, why? This is sort of weird. Okay. I'm not saying that this wasn't historical at the time, but I don't see why we'd have it under Eastern Defense Command. So we're going to put it under Pacific. Again, I just don't know enough. Like, I know better on Germany. Who do we have else that we can place here? MacArthur, Patton. I don't know if he'll, unlike Hearts of Iron 4, it only shows us who's available, and not, okay, Nimitz. We're gonna have to think about this, because this is a tough one. I'm sure there's also a Nimitz that's an admiral that's high skilled. So we'll have to see how we organize that up. Reconnaissance aircraft design, which is right here. Okay, 3 large fuel tanks over there. And yes, you can have some metal. Okay, we now have the Yorktown's aircraft. Have we deployed the Yorktown yet? Because yes, I think we did over to here. Yes, there it is. Okay, so what we're going to do, I want to make sure I get it to the right spot. So we're going to put you out to sea. Oh, pause. Okay, let's deploy Yorktown group here. Or did it try to stick it down? I want to make sure it's on the Yorktown, so we're going to rebase the carriers. Okay, no, it's auto saving, and now we're there. Okay, now that is good. So back to port. Again, this is going way too fast to actually play it. I know we're just going through There we go. So now it is definitely, at least it should be definitely attached to. I get too big for his command size. Okay. Peacetime military service. President Roosevelt signing the STSA, Selective Training and Service Act, on September 16, 1940. Well, this is about a year before that, I think. Okay, began the first peacetime draft in the United States. It also established the Selective Service System as an independent agency responsible for identifying and inducting young men into military service. Roosevelt named Hershey to head the Selective Service on July 31st, 1941, where he remained until President Richard Nixon in 1969. This preparatory act came. So that tells you how important this really was. That once you got the guy in charge, didn't pay attention until Nixon comes around to maybe put somebody younger, more effective. I mean, it was important during World War II, and yes, during the Vietnam War, they were still doing it, but it was just an agency that ran itself, I believe. Such as increasing training and equipment production had not yet been approved. Nevertheless, it served as a basis for conscription programs that would continue to the present. The act set a cap of 900,000 men to be training at any given time, and limited military service to 12 months. Okay. We'll gain some manpower, get a little more dissent. We have very little dissent now, or don't, and we'll lose dissent, which we don't have any, and we gain neutrality. We will do this. I don't know why this is happening. I mean, it may be coded to happen right now, approximately a year early. But we will do this. Now, those live here on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or I don't get to see, I do get to see the Facebook chat, but I don't get to see anything posted until later if I or go over on Twitter. So if you happen to be watching there, and I know a few people have watched at least bits of this over on Twitter. Should women be, are equal rights and equal responsibilities that go with the rights? You got to have both. Are you really for that, people? I know you have, equal pay for men and women, equal pay. Yeah, good. And we can argue about details of that. Equal pay for everybody the same race. Yep, totally agree. The way it should be. Yep. Should women have to sign up for the draft, and should women be drafted? And I'm talking in World War II. I'm talking now that we have a draft in the United States, or possibly in your country. I know many viewers are outside of the U.S. Guess who? Don't quite get that, Arno, but whatever. Should women have to sign up for the draft? And if you're going to draft people, should women have to be also drafted? Now, I know, like, I do watch the Greg Gutfeld show sometime, and there's the woman commentator who's a skinny little woman. Yeah, right, draft me for the military, and what can I do? And yeah, she's a skinny little thing that I don't know that she can do a single pull-up. But you know what? She can sit at a keyboard and do a lot of administrative jobs. If you're going to draft people, which would free up a combat soldier. So yes, I am not one of these people that are going and saying all women should, be drafted in the Army and be put into the frontline infantry services, because I think there's problems with that. But if you really ideologically actually believe in equality of the sexes, do you also, if you do, you must believe that women should be drafted. But I don't know, outside of Israel, I'm not even sure of the details, though I know a lot of women do need to do national military service there. Gal Gadot, the actress I know, has done so. Should they have to sign up for the draft? And if there is a draft, be drafted into the military as well. They can go, again, like I say, can be home front, non-combat type duties, Now, they should get firearms training and that kind of thing, just in case something goes wrong, or just as they're walking around a base and they see a firearm on the ground and know how to, like, make sure how to check that it's unloaded, make sure to carry it safely to back, to put it back in the armory or something. If they trip across a hand grenade, not, to know what is it, is the pin appropriately in, is it, safe, and then how to not make it unsafe so it goes boom, and how to return it to the armory or something. So if they're in a military environment, should women sign up for the draft, and should they be drafted as well? And if you do not think so, then you truly do not believe in equal rights for men and women, and everything you say, in my opinion, everything you say about that is BS. It's special rights for women, and men and women are different. So yeah, I don't know. Love to hear your comments. No one's been brave enough to comment live here. They don't want to be canceled by the women's lobby. If they say, oh, they should be drafted, you'll be canceled. Or if they go, no, they shouldn't have to be drafted because they're not equal to men. And they should not be treated equally before the law as men. So they're not afraid to go one way or the other, because either way is a minefield. Get forward air control advance. But I'd love to hear if anybody's brave enough to comment, and if so, what their thoughts on this would be. Okay, Enterprise is launched. Yes, we have the Enterprise. It is launched. It is there with the Yorktown. Okay, help the Allies now to win, so men can never be necessary. So our men will never be necessary. So our men will never be cash and carry. Okay, cash and carry. A special session of the United States Congress on 21st of September 1939. As World War II was spreading throughout Europe, the U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt requested a policy of cash and carry to replace the Neutrality Act of 1936. The revision allows the sale of materials to belligerents as long as the recipients arrange for transport using their own ships and paid immediately in cash. The purpose was to hold neutrality between the United States and European countries while still giving material aid to Britain. Various policies forbade the selling of implements of war or lending of money to belligerent countries under any terms. The economic situation in the U.S. was rebounding at this time after the Great Depression. Well, this starts rebounding the Great Depression. Starts getting rid of it. It's causing the end of it. But there was still a need for industrial manufacturing jobs. Hello, Evolve 117. How you doing? So, let me see. What do I want to say about this? I'm not sure if I don't know if there's technically anything that's saying that the Axis can't buy weapons. I'm not sure on that detail of it. But it was also aimed at France as well as Britain to be able to sell them weapons. But what the American populace still very much knew, that the major reason that the government used to get Americans into the First World War was the sinking of the Lusitania way out in international waters, not just like, hey, we're sitting outside of an enemy port and we're sinking ships. And there's still debate today whether they were carrying war materials on the Lusitania or not, because of some way some of the stuff blew up after it hit. I don't know if that's ever been satisfactorily cleared up. The Lusitania, I believe, I hope I'm not getting things too wrong. What's the best tip for using the Black Ice mod? Are we talking install or are we talking playing? Those will send me two different directions. I could try to help out, but please give me a little more information. So, the Lusitania is sunk in international waters. It is, I believe, an American flag vessel. Playing. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. And after that and the uproar, Germany cancels its unrestricted submarine warfare against neutral vessels, I guess, basically in the zone. Basically, you sort of like gotta, for a while, the Germans gotta surface, go, hi there, we want to inspect. You know, if you don't stop, we'll start shooting with our surface guns, you know, blah, blah, blah. Making submarine warfare a lot less practical. It was the changing it back to unrestricted submarine warfare in the, you know, greater European sea sphere, you know, it's out in this sort of area, that got America into the war. So what they're trying to do here is to say, hey, American flag shipping is not carrying weapons. I think those women are actually carrying like lever action rifles or something in those boxes or something. They did sell a bunch of those to Britain. So don't sink our ships in the zones. And we're not carrying war weapons, and the ship might just be going to Portugal or might be going to Spain or Ireland or whatever. And even if it's going to Ireland, it's not carrying weapons. And so don't sink our ships. But we are selling our weapons. So you had to have a British flagged or a French flagged or whoever's flagged ship show up in an American port and get loaded under cash and carry and take the weaponry away. So you could sit out here, and if you see a British flag vessel, you could sink it, but you shouldn't be sinking in American vessels because they will not be carrying, you know, war materials or whatever. I don't know exactly how far you expand the definition or contract it, because food theoretically could be it. And I do know that for a while, they would literally fly some of the fighter aircraft that they were giving over to Britain to an airstrip or whatever along the Canadian border. And they would, you know, drive, you know, using the propeller or whatever, right up to the American border. And a Canadian guy would walk across the border and hook a rope onto it and literally tow it under you know, not under any power, out of America into Canada. And they did this on camera and made sure everybody know it. Just to say, hey, the Americans are not actively delivering stuff to us. We are carrying it away. You know, sort of a little BS because, hey, you could load up a train car and, you know. But it's the idea that you were coming to America, you were buying in America, and you were carrying it away. And we weren't getting involved in the war. So that is very much how it was happening. It was meant at the time to support the Allies actively. It was meant at the time to try to reassure the American public that we were not going to get involved in the war. Now, I'm not saying FDR wanted us involved in the war in September, November 1939. He does, by sometime in 1941, probably does want us involved after the fall of France, you know, actively involved in the war at that point. But he only wants it to happen with the overwhelming consent of the American people, not trying to drag us in unwillingly. You know, I'm not the greatest Roosevelt expert. I don't know what he was thinking again in 39, but definitely wants to help out. So that's the situation. And in economic terms, remember what I said. The biggest problem with the Great Depression was no customers for the manufactured products. And in other countries like Germany, who does go through some depressions, of course, they're mostly getting out of depressions when America and with America does not have hyperinflation. It does not. It actually has deflation, meaning money becomes more valuable, buys more stuff for a while during it. But the reason that Germany has hyperinflation is that they have war loans and other things to pay off, and they try to you just print German money to pay it off with. So with Germany, they're getting out of their depression by making products for the wrong markets. They're making products for the governments, so they have to control their own inflation needs elements. Because again, like I know I've explained, if a bunch of people are making automobiles in factories that are being sold to the public, probably, unless you're talking like it's a luxury automobile manufacturer, but if you're talking something like Volkswagen or Ford, probably most of the factory workers will be able to afford the automobile. So they will have something to save their money up on and spend their money up on. But if they're making tanks, they're getting paid, but they're not necessarily having a product that they can buy. So it becomes somewhat inflationary. And this also happens with the U.S. and what's going on here. During the Depression, people just don't have money to buy things with because they don't have jobs. So there's nothing to sell your goods to. So businesses either go out of business or just shut down, which is a different thing, meaning the company still exists on paper. It still owns, a factory or a bunch of factories or whatever, but there's nobody working in it. It's just shut. So it's not quite gone out of business. It's, meaning it hasn't necessarily gone through, some have, but gone through bankruptcy and or disappeared. It's just, I'm, a shoe company. Well, no one's buying my shoes. Let's just shut the factory down. Wait for times to get better. Now, maybe if that factory was in too much debt or whatever, and then it would have to go through, being sold off and parted out. But there's nobody to buy anything. So banks end up owning everything. So what this is doing is the wrong customers. You are getting the only saving grace is that a lot of this is for overseas customers. So yes, they're making stuff for France and Britain or whatever, bullets or aircraft or whatever. But that then puts people's money back in people's pockets. So they go, hey, I'm going to buy a new suit, or I'm going to buy a new pair of shoes. So the shoe factory opens up because they're not yet in the war situation when all shoe factories become boot factories and all the boots are bought by the government. So it's this sort of golden period for American development, just as the start of the war. So we're going to do this. Cash and carry. We're going to get a little bit of dissent, but we can handle that. Okay. Now, playing. Your tips for playing. Okay. Well, Black Ice is very different than standard Hearts of Iron 3. I think it is very good, but it takes a while to learn it. You're not going to learn it before the starting of the first, playthrough. If you're really feeling daunted, of course, I would recommend watching some of my YouTube videos on playing the different countries. And I know it takes a long time to go through them. I pause and talk like this a lot, but you can always tell that I'm paused and fast forward things if you want. You just got to make sure your industries, your technologies that are, for whatever nation you're playing, that are core for that nation. Meaning Germany doesn't need to worry about ship technologies that much. You need to worry about tanks and fighters and those things, and build enough of them. And then figure out where to put overwhelming attacks on the enemies and punch deep into them and take them out. I don't know. I mean, it's a big open-ended question. I know, Evolve. Cool medium armor designs. What model I think is now? I'm going to go with it's going to be the Grant Lee type things, but let's take a quick look here. Arnold likes to know what the models are for. And it is still the Christie. Christie T3. We just upgraded, and it's still the Christie T3. Okay. Okay. Well, assault guns. Do we want to build assault guns? Did the Americans have assault guns? They definitely did not do what I would call an infantry tank in the sort of British sense. And the light armor, we can take that look there too. Brigade's light armor is the M2 light tank, do the 230 cals or 250 cals, whatever those are. I don't know. I think they're 30s, but I'm not sure. Yeah, definitely not a British style infantry tank. The Americans did not do. They definitely did tank destroyers, and I would go with maybe light tank destroyers, because if we're talking sort of like the M10 and the M18, would those be light as opposed to the sort of like the Martyrs, as opposed to like Jagdpanzer IV kind of things with heavier armor. So I go, Americans did light tank destroyers. They definitely didn't do heavy. Probably not medium. Assault guns. I struggle with micromanaging the army. I try to use the AI, but setting up the objectives. Yeah, no, Black Ice is not meant to be played with the AI. So you need to want to slow down and micromanage things. That is sure. That is very true. If you are wanting to set up objectives and have your army try to achieve them, the best thing you can do is play Hearts of Iron 4. And even then, I still think the AI does not meet my conditions of achieving the objectives. I draw nice battle plans where I want the panzers to go this path and the infantry to follow in and gobble up the territories, and then I watch them as the panzer force, instead of stays as a coherent like 3 or 4 divisions all together, they spread out and spread out and spread out and become weak. I see that, so I've given up using the AI on Hoi 4 even. But definitely with Black Ice, you need to micromanage it. And I guess jump into some of my series. It doesn't matter really what nation you're actually going to play, but you can look at some of my German series. And jump into the Barbarossa. They're often, they use a sort of standard picture. Look for me playing Barbarossa and see how that goes. Before I got into Hoi 4, I played Darkest Hour, and it was a fun game, but it was hard managing the armies and troop movements. Felt slow compared to Hoi 4. Yeah, well, maybe Hoi 4 is the game for you. I really like Hoi 4. There's a lot of really good things with Hoi 4. I still like this Hearts of Iron 3 Black Ice better than Hoi 4. I still like this better. It is a more detailed. It's a more detailed game, I would say, in many ways. But you've got to want to play the detail. If you don't want to play the detail, it just becomes a chore. And so it's not for everybody. And I don't want to look. I'm not trying to say I look down on somebody. Well, you can't manage it. No, that's not the point. It's not fun for you. Is how I would look at it. If it's not fun to try to dig in and figure this stuff out. Because I was essentially, not just because you couldn't play it this detailed, but I was essentially doing this with tabletop. Yeah, I hear you about that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer hardware questions, because it's your laptop, and by the time you it's probably going to be harder. Probably 45 in this game is going to be harder on your laptop than Hearts of Iron 4 will be on your laptop. I think, because it's a different version of the engine, I think it's probably going to be better for you. Hearts of Iron 4. I think it's going to be better. than Hearts of Iron 3 on your laptop. Late war, mid to late war, it will start to chug. So and they're not doing any more efficiency upgrades for the engine for Hearts of Iron 3. So, and they have done some of those over the different versions of Hearts of Iron 3, but that's done with, and nothing the modders can really do about that. So yeah, that's a hardware issue, and I can't solve it other than say buy a better computer, which everybody I'm sure wants, but it costs money. And I know it's a real issue. I'm not trying to be flippant about it. It's just the way things are with all of this. So I'm sorry I can't really give you great, like, this will solve your issues, problems, situation here. Okay. And we're paused again. Okay, Panama has stopped doing money, cash and carry act. Okay, supplies minus 5%. Okay, money plus 5%. Good, good, good. Okay, yes, you can have energy. Finland and Ireland stock trading. Okay, this sinking of SS Athenia. This is definitely, I forget what movie it made, but it definitely made some of the movies in, like, probably 1940, early 41, talking about talking with this set in and around this. The SS Athena was the first British ship to be sunk by Nazi Germany in the war. The sinking caused dramatic publicity throughout the English-speaking world, with front pages of many newspapers running photographs of the lost ship alongside headlines about Britain's declaration of war. As an example, the Halifax Herald for 4th of September 1939 had a banner across its front page announcing liner Athenia is torpedoed and sunk, with in the center of the page Empire at War in outside red print and a Canadian girl. Well, hey, at least they had a Canadian girl. Oh, 10 I was thinking someone a bit older than a 10-year-old. Margaret Hayworth was included among the casualties. I was thinking it was a positive story about a Canadian girl. Never mind. Was the first Canadian citizen to die as a result of enemy action. The newspaper widely publicized the story, proclaiming 10-year-old victim torpedoed as Canadian rallying point, and set the tone for the coverage of the rest of the war. Yeah. Possibly a mistake? Absolutely not. From everything I know of this was not a mistake, in the sense of the skipper of the submarine didn't know exactly. I mean, he might not know that it was the Athena, but my understanding is it was still running fully lit up. So, it wasn't running, my understanding, and I'm sure I've known some more details about this thing than I remember right now, but I believe it was running fully lit up at the time and not under blackout conditions. So it's not like, oh, I see a ship out there and can't quite tell what. They knew it was a passenger liner. It was clearly a passenger liner. Passenger liners at the time often carried cargo, but probably in September 4th, 1939, no cargo was being, military cargo was being carried, and I believe it was leaving Britain. I believe that. I'm not absolutely sure on that detail. If anyone wants to check me and post down below or something if I'm wrong, please do so. So it was not a mistake of what the captains shot at. Yeah, I would say it was probably a practical mistake, in the sense of I would have had my hey Ragar, hi Sun Tongue, I think I mentioned you earlier. Don't let the the AI. He's trying. He's learning. Evolve. It's a tough game. I mean, I took to it naturally because I played, these types of things back in the mid '80s. On board games with counters and whatnot. So I've just evolved over time with this. So it comes to me naturally. But if you're just coming at this and you're not used to this kind of stuff, it's a lot to learn. And if you don't like doing the details, it's not fun. And if things aren't fun, you don't want to learn them. So it just wrecks it for you. I get that. It's not being a snobbish, oh, well, real war gamers like this or that. No, it just, is this fun for you? And that's very much how I take it. Did I say hi, Regar? I hope I did. Okay. Now it was a policy mistake maybe to try to sink passenger liners at this point. Because however much you want to deny the enemy ships that will be turned into troop ships one day and will be hauling war necessary cargoes one day, they're not at this point, and it's still early in the war, and it's just a mistake to do. So we can go possibly a mistake, prove that, or we can go improved relations, game 5. I don't know why this is, gaining dissent in America. I get why and so I was going to go here. And when I looked, 5 dissent. But when I looked here, 3 dissent. So that's only 2 more dissent I will gain. Yeah, I'll lose popularity for the Democratic Party, but this is all effed up anyways, in my opinion. And it's more from the Hearts of Iron 3 side than the mod side to that. Yeah, 4-3 is tough. Some games aren't for others, but I really want to get into the game. I just keep playing Minor Nations, which doesn't. Yeah, the major power. If you're really having trouble with the mechanics, a Minor Nation might be all right for you, but you're not going to be winning or losing. You really need to play a major power. This isn't again like Hoi 4 that you sort of can play a minor power and try to be successful with it. It isn't that broken as Hoi 4 is broken in that way. I would say just invest time if you want in my videos or somebody else's if you don't like my style, and you can skip a little ahead when I'm just talking about history and whatnot if it doesn't interest you. I know it takes time up, but you can look at how especially down in Germany, how there's definitely organization specials that you'll show how I'm going and reorganizing everything, and all of the Air Force and all of the Army, and see me invading France and see me invading Barbarossa and going into the Soviet Union. You can just watch all of that, and it's going to give you a lot of interesting stuff on how to play it. Struggle because they push fortification. Yeah, Ragar, you're right about that. Evolve, play a game as Argentina, cheat for resources if you want, since it's for the beginning. Yeah, I don't know whether you should. I've never really played it, so I don't know. But something like Romania or Finland might be a good game for you, though. Finland, you're going to get stomped in the Winter War for sure. I mean, just sort of a unfortunate bad situation with the way the game's designed. But you can play Romania and do something like that. That would get you sort of as a helper. Once Barbarossa happens, you can move your Romanian forces in and around here, learn some of that, or you could try to Italy or something. I don't know. Okay. We're gonna lose that and lose. We're gonna punish the Axis. I'm just gonna do it. Our Navy asks for money. Okay, fine. Again, I hate that way they use money in this. I remove that from my mod. Third Reich events. Medium fuel tank research. Okay, that's grayed out, and we'll move it over to here. Sure. I wish I had some, the more detailed a question is, how to invade Belgium or something, I can probably answer a little better. But there's just so much on the topic, and I've talked about it. Okay, ammunition capacity in a lot of the different videos, and not that I'm not willing to repeat myself, it just, if I say it all now and then you come in and play it in a few days, how much are you going to remember? But I find this a fascinating game. Actually, I play it less now than I used to because I want to play it for the channel, and where I used to just dig in and play it on my own, and I haven't gone into where I'm having both like a play it for the channel, whether live or just on my own, and then also have my own private games. I just haven't done that yet, so can do single engine fighter, get that sort of going. I could do that. So gamer, how does one invade Belgium? Tell us. We wish to invade Belgium. Okay. Well, the way currently with Black Ice is you have a fair amount of fortresses here, so they're going to be sort of hard to take. So what you want to build is a few fortress busting divisions, and I'm going to humor Toyjet for just a moment here. Build some fortress busting divisions, and I'm not going to go into all that. And so you're going to want to attack. You're going to want to attack this. They'll put a lot of forces in this province here. You'll want to attack it from all three provinces, so it's being attacked on three fronts at start, and you want to push into here, which is normally undefended or very weakly defended, and then you want to push across this river into here as fast as you can. Once you also get here, you may want to add another division to be attacking here from 4 divisions, and then you also want to come out through Luxembourg very fast and move up through Bastogne and Arlon, and then because it's normally overly defended, so it starts to the unit starts to collapse here, and they withdraw mostly into Liège, and you want to be coming in here as you're pushing along, through here, through Dinant and into Philippeville, coming around this way. And once all this is sort of here collapsed, you move up your fortress busting divisions and your others, and I know it's a hard spot. Normally you want to go around them, but you start your siege of Liège going there while you're pushing around some faster divisions here and coming to get ready into Brussels and attacking Brussels. And then you're coming, maybe it's weak enough at Namur, but definitely coming through here, and you're coming in around and attacking up south of Brussels, and then basically you got to take Brussels and Antwerp, and Belgium falls apart. And of course you're also streaming in German forces across Sedan, through Sedan, across the Meuse River here, and deeper into there. I hope that, no, you don't need paratroopers in Belgium. They don't help, at least not enough. Normally my paratroopers are still sort of messing around in the Netherlands beforehand. And yes, I would say it's better to have 5 division corps than 2 division corps or 3 division corps that would be historical. The reason is the more divisions in the corps, the quicker the upgrading of the corps skills of the corps commander. You get skills for your units that are below you in combat. So the larger the corps are better in this game. It's sort of a gamey way to do it, but it is better. And yeah, there's also evolved. There's some tutorial videos that I have on core structures. You can look on my channel, and some of the other. I have a bunch of tutorials on Black Ice and how to set up divisions and all that stuff. That I talk both theory and practice on. So if you want to watch those, they may help you on setting up your various corps and your orders of battle, corps, armies, army groups, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to check those out, you can. I think if you're just willing to put in the time, I know it is sort of self-promotion, put in the time with my watching videos on my channel, you'll get competent with it. I mean, I know there's many hours of videos there, but you'll get very competent with it, and you'll be able to play very well. So that. So did you agree with my plan for invading Belgium? Or not, Toy Jet? Enjoy. Well, we're going to keep the live stream going, but we're going to be ending this episode. So I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. It really does help. And see you next time for even more, yes, more Hearts of Iron. Okay, let's make a save here. We're going to continue. Yeah. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 11.2. And of course, we're playing as America this time. One of the viewers was asking about tips on playing Black Ice, and we were talking about it last episode. If you saw that, you will know. But I could say, it's really hard just to give tips for generalities. I do have, if you're new around here, you can look at my channel page. I do have a lot of tutorials on playing Black Ice, sort of a bunch of sections. So look through those. That will help, and just watching my videos ultimately will help. We would give them fuel in exchange for, yes, we can have fuel. Australia. Twin engine airframe research. Okay, that is there. Okay, so we have those 39s. We're starting to do fighter research. We can do flying boat research. Okay, yes, you have energy, Sweden, Iraq. I'm going to decline. You might just become an Axis member. I think you will, so I'm going to decline. You can have energy. I don't need an Axis member to have another submarine out there, especially way out in the Indian Ocean type area. Okay, self-propelled artillery brigade. Okay, that's there and it's grayed out. Good, fine. Air launch torpedoes. Okay, air launch torpedoes. That is under. Oh, yeah, 1942. Okay. One of them. Okay, gun ability, twin engine airplanes. Gun ability, 1941. That as well. Okay. You can do 1940s technologies without getting the red warning. You can, if you really want to press ahead, though it is not recommended into the red zones, but doable. Yeah, we'll start on some of that. Well, let's see, I'm looking at industry. Just because the penalties for pressing into having it red, you might get it a little earlier, but maybe not much, because it is really a. Okay, we should just come down here and make sure that we're getting all of these done as well efficiently, because we can do those efficiently. Okay, how did you like the piracy scandal? Greeks pirated Turkey oil. Iran pirated 2 Greek ships. They're rumored about U.S. ships which supposed to carry Turkey's oil to the U.S. Okay. I hadn't heard about the Greeks grabbing up the. I'm not going to say that they pirated, because I don't know the conditions of it. I haven't heard about the Greeks grabbing up Turkey oil. I don't know what that means. I don't know whether you. I don't know what that means. Whether I'm presuming, I guess you mean oil tankers, but I have not heard about that. I had heard that Iran did get a couple of Greek ships. and all I saw is the headlines of it, quite honestly. There is very strong evidence, basically watching two tankers meet in the middle of the night, not necessarily in the middle of the night, but meeting in the middle of the ocean or seas or whatever you want to call it, but out in international waters, one of them being flagged Iran, one of them being flagged somebody else, maybe China, I don't remember, but two ships meeting up and sitting next to each other for two tankers sitting next to each other for a while and then go their own ways. Basically, we can presume there may be evidence of even like water lines changing, but we can presume that they were laundering oil, if you will, meaning taking Iranian oil out of an Iranian flag tanker, putting it on somebody else's flag tanker, and then trying to deliver it somewhere, and so that as if it was being somebody else's originated oil. I do not know whether those Greek tankers were somehow involved in that, or whether they're just a tit for tat grab up stuff. I don't know. Greeks grabbed Iranian tankers carrying oil. Okay. To Turkey, Iran protested. Okay, so it's purely a tit for tat. Okay, I had not heard about the Greeks. Well, I don't. They're not supposed to be doing those things. Best I understand, if you are a NATO member and whatnot, you're not supposed to be buying Iranian oil, even if you are Turkey. So I don't know about the legality. I'm not going to say it's pirated, because pirated is something that would be considered illegal. Now, what's legal and what isn't legal? Well, we have maritime law and we have UN resolutions passed. You can say the UN is illegal, sure, whatever. But if you presume that they have any sort of sanctions abilities or whatnot, and then if you don't want to say that there are, then there are no pirating, because then it's just simply force of arms out there in the world. I will take that to being a practical reality. Just go, hey, if you got the guns or the nuclear missiles or whatever it is, you get to make the rules. It's force of arms. But if you go, hey, we've said something that you're not supposed to be shipping Iranian oil, and if Greece gets to, hey, thanks for following. If Greece gets to intercept that stuff, great, fine. Then if those two Greek tankers did not enter what we, the maritime great power of the world, the United States, says that they're international waters, meaning, they're basically, we believe that unless it's something like a closed space of the Suez Canal or something here, even if theoretically the distance we would normally extend to territorial waters between, out from territorial, as opposed to economic territory, drilling for oil, but shipping territory, the United States holds, and we will enforce it with nuclear weapons or ships carrying nuclear weapons, whether we launch them or not, that there is an international channel to be used between, Djibouti and Yemen here, or whatever, no matter, so if you're generally steering through the international channel, neither of these nations should be allowed to grab up your ships under a law enforcement, air quotes, capacity. The Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow is going to interfere with Postscriptum. Well, I guess. Well, I don't know, Eric. Figure out what's more important, because now you were getting us all going to doing Postscriptum, and I'm doing it because I presumed you were going to be available. Maybe Herr Thomas will be around to drive, but I don't know. Well, figure out what you're going to do. Let me know. Because if you're not gonna be there, I'm not gonna try to get it going with Arno. I know Arno would want to do it, but I really want one of us in the Discord to be the driver, and I don't know that Herr Thomas has committed to being there. Not that he needs to. So, because we were supposed to be playing Postscriptum tomorrow, Arno. That's what we had decided to do. That's why we were practicing yesterday, getting ready for, was it yesterday or Thursday, whatever day it was, we were practicing. I think it was Thursday, but for the Sunday Postscriptum instead of War Thunder. So that was what we were going to be doing, Arno. It's not quite Infantry Thunder, but it's sort of like that, and I figured you were going to be involved as gunner. That's why we were doing the practice. Well, maybe we'll talk about it. So I don't know. We'll talk about it on Discord later. I mean, just maybe post messages, but whatever. Okay. So back to this. So Rhaegar stuff. So if Iran is just using, people coming through the Straits of Hormuz to grab up ships, Iran does not yet have nuclear weapons, people. Iran does not, as far as I know, yet have nuclear weapons, people. Now, we do have the Biden administration. Now, of course, the Biden administration is a problem because governments, shall we say, which are made up of people, but governments think they're weak. But what it is a weak president, but there's policies, and you very well may get pushback of the U.S. deciding to put a physical blockade of Iran and snapping up Iranian vessels. And Iran really can't do anything about it. I mean, yeah, they can try some of their attacks. They could launch their submarines out and try to sink things, but it ain't going to go well for them if they do so. So, I don't care about a dirty bomb, Arno. It could be ugly for somebody, and I guess in theory they could get it to my home here in California, or they could get it to somewhere else in the U.S., but that ain't a nuclear weapon. It just ain't. And I don't know how much. I know they have nuclear materials. Their centrifuges so they could probably do something, but I don't even know how. See, with a dirty bomb, unless you have a lot of explosives cooked up on that, how well will they be able to spread? And I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know how well they would be able to spread the nuclear waste around to be the dirty part. And so, and how well that will be going airborne and spreading, how densely. Not that they wouldn't have a little bit of radiation around, but I don't know how deadly or even how medically damaging that would be to people. It's so much different than a nuclear weapon, and I don't know that a good setup of chemical weapon launch wouldn't just be. And in fact, probably a dirty bomb is in essence almost a chemical weapon anyways, a little more persistent. So I wouldn't worry too much about dirty bombs. I mean, yeah, if they happen on you, yeah, that would be bad. I'm not saying it isn't, but they don't yet have nuclear weapons. And this current oil crisis caused by dumb decision of the EU is actually better than nuclear weapons. Iran can screw up the world royally. Yeah, I as Rhaegar knows and others here who watch me, I do follow a lot of the news. I don't get everything. I will totally admit it. I do believe, I almost said no, but I do believe that Iran and China are trading in oil. I believe so. I don't know how open it is, or maybe that's some of the pirated, or not pirated, but sort of the sanction busting oil transfers maybe related to China. Yeah, the U.S. could really lock down their coast, and basically enough to shut down all commercial shipping. Nobody commercial would be going, and the U.S. can easily snatch up the Iranian ships at sea. Yeah, that would be easy peasy for the U.S. Between the SEALs, going and boarding the ships, or just U.S. Marines boarding the ships effectively. And unless you think the ship, like some of the, my belief, some of the stuff that they've been hauling down to Yemen for the Houthi rebels down there, I do believe are fairly well guarded, meaning there's a bunch of IRGC guards on them. But I think a lot of the tankers and others, I think they're completely unarmed. I could be wrong. I don't have the intel on it, because they may very well have arms just because they too go by pirated territories down here. I don't know, but they're not commandos on board those ships. Some Marines should be able to do a underway boarding very effectively, with probably very light to no casualties. Maybe more casualties to slipping and falling and breaking your ankles or something than gunfire casualties. And of course, helicopters dropping Marines on fast ropes down on ships would be a thing too. So yeah, they should be able to take down Iran ships everywhere in the world as soon as they even those sitting in like Chinese or North Korean or wherever ports, once they come out in the international waters, just whoop, get them. And we could easily in time just get rid of every Iranian ship that goes to sea and stop anybody from commercially. I'm not saying a submarine can't get out, or I'm not saying some little go fast boat or something can't get out, but no commercial level shipping. We could easily shut down Iran, just because there's only a few. You have, what is this, Isfahan? No, this is Isfahan, isn't it? No, Bandar Abbas, Isfahan. I think one of these was like Isfahan, and this is Bandar Abbas. Here, the Straits of Hormuz. There's just like 2 or 3 big ports along here. Everything else is just fishing village BS. And yeah, well, the EU is stupid, but yeah, for multiple reasons. Okay, well, we now have a lot of extra ICs here. Okay, all of our industrial capacity ICs have been done. Well, okay, I think we can. Let's see about building some more. Looking for places that would be better to expand. That's at 100%. Well, we can do one there. Do one there. We may get a little bit more there. We may build some heavy industry as well. That should be full regular. Okay, we'll put one more there. There, Houston. Let's build up the aircraft industry out here in California. Try to some degree to concentrate your industry so that then you can do heavy industry, which will be even better and efficient. Okay, let's move all these to the top. Okay. Yeah, I try to keep up with the world and what's going on with it. I'm sure I'm in detail lacking in many areas, but I try to get the big picture in focus. Okay, so we have. Okay, that's a carrier. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, we have a lot of carriers coming. Okay, we have 8 carriers or something like that in production. Plus, what is it? 3 and another 7 light carriers coming in production. Okay, and battleships, Washington, South Dakota, Wyoming. Battleships are big and expensive. I don't know how useful they are, but let's just, for the hell of it, if we're gonna use them, we want them early. These are Iowa class battleships. However much the models mean, it's really more the stats. 44 months. Okay, let's build 2 more battleships. And let's build 2 more heavy cruisers. Now let's build 3 more. 3 more heavy cruisers. Move all of these carrier planes down. Hit the wrong button. Down to the bottom. You need like a gazillion torpedo boats. Yeah, but they're going to be fast to build. I don't need to build them in 1939, Arno. 1941? Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, eventually, yes, I want a bunch of those, but I learned in Hawaii 3 carriers should be built to get all of them at the same time. Then 3 years, nothing. It's really important to at least trickle some big carriers, even if yeah, you're right about that. And we can look here. You know, we'll get July 41, September 1940 for these CVLs. These 41, September 41 main carriers. February 42, February 42. So, you know, early war, we'll get a bunch of these things, and then we're looking at these are again light stuff. So, in a year or so, mid 40 or something, we may put like 1 or 2 more carriers, like you say, to trickle them out. I think you're right about that, to have a few trickling along. Okay. Iran. No, we're not trading our strategic. Okay, Duluth. See, this is. Just to make sure that Milwaukee doesn't revolt while we're sending these guys away to go fight the rebels that didn't exist. The mines online. Okay, so in Bishop we get a tungsten mine. And let's look here. Okay. We'll be getting a positive tungsten once that gets recognized. The shortage of rubber, I know, but we don't. I don't know if we'll get synthetic rubber or whatnot, or we'll get something later. Yeah, is nickel one of them? No. Okay, I think we're just going to postpone for 6 months for now. Oh, I'm sure. And this isn't meant to be a tough playthrough. It's been requested by multiple people over the years. And it's sort of meant for me to talk about the U.S. and things instead of just talking about Germany over and over. Okay, no, do this first. And I'm also hoping to do things different than historical. Right when we get into the war, not sometime mid to late 42, I forget exactly, when the torch landings happen. What about, whether it's December 41 or, January 42, send a few divisions over to here, if they're still fighting here. And if there isn't still fighting here, well, has the British fully, taken out Libya? Maybe. the AI, or did somehow Italy, take out here or Germany or something? Maybe that happened, but intervene in the Eastern Mediterranean early on with some troops. How would that be different? And once you get a chance, then do the torch landings or whatnot. But see what can be done to do things a bit different. Okay, a Marine HQs. I'm not saying for sure we're going to do any or all of that, but we're definitely looking at that as a possibility. Radar for destroyers and frigates. Okay, let's get them done that way. I know we have. Okay, one last big push for these things. 40, and then we will probably stop it wherever we're at. Okay, armor pierce cap, ballistic, blah blah blah. Better bullets, better projectiles. I guess it's just yeah. Let's move this over here, and I'm trying to do the ones that take longer to get those researched first. And yes, network capacity capabilities. Because if this game isn't broken, yes, the U.S. will win. It just, in my opinion, is a foregone conclusion. Broken as in, Germany too strong or whatever, Now, that doesn't mean that Germany can't defeat Britain, but if the U.S. can't, take back some of these countries and whatnot, well, I'm going to have things to say, and I don't necessarily want to slow up with another lecture right now. I want to get into the fighting here. But I do want to sort of smartly do research. Okay, yeah. Guess we just want to do more of these. I got to remember to get through these here. It's efficient to research them. Okay. More rare materials and faster armor build speed. Once we get to building armor, we would give them money. No, I don't want to buy supplies from France. Or are you just looking for money? Okay, I'll accept, I guess. The battle out in Duluth. You remember the great battle in Duluth. Self-propelled artillery, yes, we want to upgrade those. Okay, Hungary has been accepted into there, and we have now gained low popularity. We have a lot of dissent, in my opinion. That's a lot. Yes, we're going to upgrade armored support brigades, and yes, money. Okay, who wants copper? Italy. No, we're not trading with Italy on our strategic resource there. Okay, yes. Study for Marine HQs. But now we are tungsten, so rare materials, hard attack, better. Okay, let's read about Disney animators strike. What is going on with this? This has been a very interesting look at America's labor relations here with this mod. Animators for Fleischer Studios went on strike when Max Fleischer fired 15 employees, all of whom were part of the American Art Union. Fletcher's strike was eventually solved by forming the Screen Cartoonist Guild in 1938. The leader of the guild was Herbert Sorel, described as a tough left-winger, began to push and obtain contracts with Terry Toons, Walter Land's Production, Green Gems, George Pal, and MGM. Leon Schlesinger, whose Leon Schlesinger Productions produced the popular Looney Tunes, and Merry Melodies cartoons for Warner Brothers. Well, of course, we know Looney Tunes for Warner Brothers. Attempted a lockout, but soon gave in to the union and then asked, "What about Disney?" We're having an uprising in New York. How great. You just made it about gangsters or something. It might have been realistic, but no. Now, if you wonder why everybody thinks leftism is so good, is because they've infiltrated our media. Because as the guy just said, Zinc, Australia, okay. And whatnot. And they really want to influence things. You know, most people think Nazis are bad. But I don't know if most people think communists are good. But a lot of them are willing to accept communists. So that's all because of left wingers. And communism has killed more people than Nazism. APM is advanced for cruisers. What? Zoom, yes. Okay, 35. Let's move it to HE ammunition. And I don't know how killing 100 million people is helping people out. Those are just killing people while the communists are in control, not just killing them to gain control. If your system is so good, works so well, why do you have to kill 100 million people in 100 years' time? Riddle me that one. Small warship ASW. If your system is so good, why do you have to kill 100 million people while running your system? Yeah, I guess you go into exile and have maybe Belgium. Malthus go bird. Yes, hey Azad, good to have you here. Yeah, well, I say Malthus is wrong on just about every single damn thing. We have no food production problems in the world, in my opinion. We only have a food delivery problem, lack of good infrastructure to get food to places. And yes, places like Africa, and I don't know India like Azads knows India, but maybe more industrialized farming in India would help there. I don't know India that well, but I know in Africa that it is very outside of South Africa, and it's reverting backwards in South Africa. Outside of South Africa, there is very little industrialized farming. Farming using mechanics, machinery of a self-powered nature is very sort of backward there. Continue. There's a decade-long study, commodity prices. If Malthus was right, they should have gone up. Opposite happened. Yes, Malthus is wrong. Look, I believe again some of this because I haven't read every study. I've read studies here and there, and more likely, quite honestly, summaries of studies. But I think, especially if you were to expand it to North America, because even Mexico could grow a lot more food than it does, and Canada grows quite a bit of food, and it could probably grow a lot more than it does. Probably the North American continent could feed the world if it were really strained and pushed hard to do so. I'm probably wrong, but I don't think so. I think there is, we can look at, and I've been watching some videos about some of the empty areas of Spain and why they happened, and some of them happened. Some of them are because of not the nicest environmental conditions, like cold winters in these mountains, and the idea that you don't need a lot of peasant farmers creating food, so people can concentrate in cities. It talks about some of these videos I watched, how the people in Spain are concentrated in cities. And part of it is some of Franco's industrialization policies, which the video sort of goes, yeah, they were sort of good, but they left out areas of Spain. They helped certain areas get industrialized, other areas got left behind, kind of thing. Not so much that whether you should industrialize or not, it just, that's why it didn't help out certain areas. But I do believe Spain could be producing a lot more food than it currently does. And yeah, some of the farms are in areas that the most efficient large, because you can make small farming machine equipment that can work on terraces, terraced land or other things that you don't have to do, hand farming or whatever, as opposed to big, huge tractors for the American plains that are super wide and, most efficient. You can do a lot more farming in places like Spain than they currently do, according to some of these videos. There's certain areas that are well farmed, but there's certain areas that they have decent soil and decent conditions to grow food if there was truly a demand for it. And they could grow a lot more food there. And yeah, again, some of the areas may be just a little too, borderline to be effective in current things, that why they, the Middle Ages or something, some peasants grew some food there and now they don't. But there's a lot of other areas that are, not the most efficient, but not unproductive, ungood areas. Wrote a paper on the correlation between economic growth and demographics. Well, cool. Found that the young age dependency was best viable to determine long-term economic growth. Okay, young age dependency is the number of people below the age of 15 divided by number of people between 16 and 55. Starting to get into math, and you're losing me there. The next strongest viable is old age dependency, but that had a negative correlation. Okay, yeah, I sort of understand what you're saying. I'm not saying you're saying it badly. I'm just math and whatnot. But yes, no, there is a lot of like AZ's talking about demographics that can tell a lot of the story. More teens good, more olds bad. Yes, as a percentage, and I want to say as a percentage thing. Yes, I will agree with you there as a percentage thing, because old people can be at some age they get no longer economically useful, but older people can be a good way of transmitting culture, transmitting values to the young. They can be an economic asset still, but not so much a physical labor asset as effectively, but as a mentoring, training, management element kind of thing. But you're right, as a percentage. So it's not that you want to get rid of the old people. You just don't want to. Now, you don't need to, and I've talked to Azads enough, and he has his own views, and they're different than mine. But I don't necessarily think you need population growth to be strong. But, and not that any nation can't grow more than it is and still be good and strong, but you need to keep a good balance. Enough younger teens out there, but not necessarily a hugely growing population to have a good balance out there. So yeah, portion of the old that are economically useful are rich and will live. The ones won't. Well, yeah, and especially if you're getting the brutalities of what we'll call the third world, you're absolutely right, as opposed to the first world situation. Which is a bit different on that, I would say. But again, my views, yes. I want to say to everybody who's watching, and Azads knows this, I am a Western chauvinist. I believe general Western is the best way to go about it. Not that we can't learn from other people, and this is going to get to the second part, but is the best way to go about organizing your culture and whatnot. But I love to hear, especially people like AZADs who are well informed about their own world, but also about the Western world too, as a compare and contrast, to learn other views, because I do believe competing and contrasting and looking at different things are how we grow and learn. So yes, I am a chauvinist and an unapologetic that I think that Western culture is the best culture, but that doesn't mean we don't want to learn from other cultures, because some of the reasons that we're the best is we've adopted elements from other cultures. And I want to hear from, whether it's Asian or African or other non-Western peoples, I want to hear from that. And so, yes, if you can put up with my yay America, not just America, but yay the West is best, but that doesn't mean I dislike or hate or think the others should go away. It just, I think it's, and I look partially at best, not just because I like it and live in it, but it's success. It's purely on the brutality of it's been successful. And yes, we can talk about the sort of West somewhat becoming degenerate, if you will. The culture is degenerating a bit. Yes, that's a real factor too. I will admit that. But all cultures go through that in one fashion or another at some stages. But they can be resurgent. They can be resurgent. So we will see as time goes on. But yeah, so I love when AZ shows up and gives me his views on things. Hello, Plastic Gangster. Actually, a study found that the old first worlders are the worst burden because of so much. Yeah, healthcare costs, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes, Western civilization is the most powerful and successful political construct the world has ever seen. There may be better ways to do it, but our way is the best so far. Absolutely, Plastic Gangster. That's what I say, is because not that we can't learn, whether it's India or China or Japan or wherever, not that we can't learn either, whether it's little things or big things from them, we can. But it's also just giving us a comparison, it just, well, this is the best. Well, compared to what? Or this is the worst. American criminal justice system is the worst. There are so many people in jail. Well, compared to what? What are you comparing it to? To Switzerland? Yeah, okay, yeah. Switzerland may have a better criminal justice system, maybe. But compared to Zimbabwe? No, I'll take the American criminal justice system over Zimbabwe, whatever Zimbabwe's may be. So, it's comparatively speaking, very much so, and we need that out there. Purely economically speaking, if First Bridge costs the exchequer the same as 10 years of health care for old people, the bridge will still be useful 30 years. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But there's also, okay, here's the thing, AZADs, about that issue. When you're talking about soldiers and fighting wars, they know, whether they want to admit it to themselves or not, they know there is a decent chance of getting killed in the war. But there's also a decent chance at being maimed or otherwise badly wounded. And if you were to look at it from the pure brutal success, usefulness, either usefulness as a soldier or usefulness as a worker after or during the war, from a person who's lost both their legs. Now, of course, we now see a lot of people who've lost both their legs are able to walk seemingly readily well from the videos that I've seen. Not that I want to lose my legs to find out, but with modern prosthetics and whatnot, they're able to walk very well and very effectively. And some of them, I don't know if 2 legs, but 1 leg has gone, soldiers have gone back into combat with. So looking at that, but soldiers knowing that their military, and of course it varies from military to military, but their military will do everything reasonable and maybe even beyond at times when they can to try to save their lives once they are wounded, and trying to patch them up instead of just leaving them on the battlefield. And if they're alive 3 days later, well, we may help you then because maybe you'll live on. But actually trying to do expensive medevacs, which started in World War II with helicopters. It did. The Germans did a little bit. The Western Allies did more, mostly like in places like Burma or wherever, where they did medical evacs with helicopters. And doing that kept the soldiers' morales up much better, that their expectations that they're wounded, and even after, getting them off the battlefield, missing both legs or whatever, and going through all that medical attention, and even if they are a economic burden on society for the rest of their lives, that helps out morale of the rest of the soldiers to know that they're not going to be forgotten. So I hear, and that sort of goes for old age situations. I hear what you're saying, but if now there's, we can talk about it. And sure, if I was, in a situation needing extraordinary medical care and having the burden, having the government to do it, and if it was me, yeah, I would probably want it. But we have to draw some line between basic medical care, sort of advanced medical care, shall we say, and extraordinary medical care. Maybe extraordinary medical care should just be for, like Azaz would put it, the rich or people who can afford it. But somewhere between basic and advanced, through various systems, whether it's health insurance in America or national, the national health system of Britain or whatever, that most people will get advanced medical care out without that, and the sort of the extreme medical care is for the rich, as well as developmental medical care that you'll eventually be able to get down into the population more and less expensively done. So somewhere, yes, I would say the society in some fashion or another needs to burden themselves with, whether it's old people or crippled people, and make life tolerably okay for them. They don't need to necessarily have a huge house and get limousine driven around if they're, can't drive and can hardly walk, but maybe some sort of tolerable, health home for them or something, as a known cushion for later in life. So yeah, you're not wrong on the pure, yeah, and I know you didn't say purely economically speaking, but that does help. Sustainable was written mainly because life expectancy was 50 years old, mostly out of workers, and so yeah, absolutely. You just have a lot more of your criminals locked away in other less advanced countries. Yeah, we'll see. Part of it is whether they're locking them away, the conditions that they're being locked away in, and crime rates are in the country, and all kinds of stuff. And crime rates are, I would say, as much social as they are economic, because there's a lot of rich people that steal money. They didn't do it because they were poor and needed food. And there's poor people out there that don't need money because they can get a job and have a decent home in America, without going to crime, but they decide to go to crime, whether they think they're going to make it big or it's just simply they're a low-level criminal and thinks it's going to be easier. So it's sociological as much, in my opinion, as it is, as much or more as it is economic needs based. Because yeah, if we don't have any food, we're going to storm, a bunch of people are going to storm the supermarkets or storm somewhere just to get food. Yes, at some point, yes, we will give up on laws just to secure food at some point. Absolutely. Good people will. But if systems are running reasonably good, that really isn't an excuse in most of anything retirement age, because of life. Yes, absolutely. Even with medical care, it only makes sense to provide those who aren't retired. Yeah, it's like I say, lines need to be driven. Okay, 6,000 money, U.S.A. subsidiaries, 1940. Okay, we have the money, so we'll do that. Okay, we would give money in exchange for supplies. No, we're not doing that. We did that with France because maybe they needed the money to buy some stuff. Okay, well, we've jumped up in ICs, so we are now a bit low versus income for coal and that, which is okay for now. We will have coming up chances to invest in our coal systems. There we go. We will get convoys and escorts done very fast there. That will help us out. Okay, there we are. We're not going to do resource training. Oh, this is up. This is after the first year. So yeah. Okay. Let's see. We need to look at this here. I gotta remind myself. First time playing America. For this is it. Okay. We've got mining, which is keeping us lots of oil, but decent on energy and metal. And we are decent. It's decently below down, but still not terrible. We need to invest a bit more there. We got railroads. We got agricultural industry doing manpower. Supply throughput. Efficiency of production by 1%, I don't think is going to be a major issue for us. With Germany, I give you in TRE the national highways because Germany wasn't completed on its national highways, even of its core territories, let alone building one over through what had been Polish territories to like East Prussia or something. But they had extensive ones already built, so I give it to, and they're the first ones. I even did a study on calculating how much someone from my generation would need to invest in order to have their own pension to pay for them 65 to 90. Well, very interesting. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. A's adds into that range, and we got years and years to go before that. But yeah, I hear you. I hear you. It's an interesting thing, and first world is different than third world, and whatever the hell you call Russia, and because I know because this had been this over here had been second world. Some areas are pulling out of that faster than others, like East Germany is now just Germany basically. But yeah, it's an interesting dilemma. You can't do everything for everybody, but where do you draw the lines as best for society as a whole? For we're talking about for those that society supports, as opposed to those who've made enough money to pay for whatever the hell, like you're saying, if you're made it enough that turns out you need to invest 30% of your income for this pension fund. Since most people won't save that much, they will legit die of poverty, or die. Well, not in the U.S. You don't die of poverty, really. It's actually worse for first world given the demographics. Yeah. Yeah. Now, do factor in here, so far in the U.S., we have home ownership. And people, here's something I don't know that you factored into, and I know particularly in the United States, home ownership. If you look at that, instead of saving up money there, you're putting money. A lot of people are putting 36 or had been putting 36% or more into home ownership of their income, and so they now own a home in which what we have here is called like a reverse mortgage, in that you get money dribbled back to you, and then on your death and death of both members, the bank will come in and collect their money on the sale at the sale of the home. So, like, let's say if they've given you out half the value of the home, your heirs will the bank will sell your home, and your heirs will get half of the proceeds, and the bank will get the other half, or whatever the deal is. So they've invested a lot of money in homes here in the United States. Now that doesn't go with everybody, but there's a lot of that without. Because I hear that 36% of your income, but that's for the pension plan. But if you're not taking into home ownership into account, so think about that. Well, so far it's not. We may have a crash. Yeah, you guys don't know what $1 million house looks like out here in California, or what is virtually $1 million house. And it ain't no mansion, and it ain't waterfront either. Yeah. So you got a house out here in California in a decent neighborhood. It's going to be worth somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million. You got a really nice house out here, it's probably $1.5 million. Now, that'll probably do you, even now. But we'll see how it is in 10 or 20 years. That collapse. Real estate may collapse. I'm not saying it won't, but it may. Okay, in the UK, I have the NHS. I'm 53 years old and have had heart attacks. Sorry to hear about that. Quadruple bypass. I was shot in the chest and only saved by emergency operation. Wow. Oh, sorry to hear about your being shot in the chest. I had one of the leading heart surgeons in Europe perform my BAS. It was all free at the point of delivery. Yeah, absolutely. Point of delivery, I will give you free, but it is a balance because you paid for it in your taxes. Presumably, if you've been a reasonably productive person in the UK, you've paid in taxes into that. So and I agree with you. I'm glad you free at point of delivery, and you're right about that. We all pay in the national insurance all our lives, so did our families. The welfare state will support us from cradle to grave if it doesn't collapse. I could not explain to an American the level of security and comfort that provides. I understand. And we think, we may not, plastic gangsta, but we think we get, if we have good insurance, we think we get better health coverage. We think we do. We may not, but we think we do. Okay. It only keeps up with inflation, money supply. That's true across the world. I don't know. Well, and again, I'm looking at it through a California bias, and not even a Northern California Bay Area bias that's like insane. I think it's much better than inflation up there. But however, this is why immigration is such a absolutely hot potato, because you paid into it and these other people have not. We pay, our parents and grandparents, yes. Yes, absolutely. Real estate values come from demographics. So when you're old as the country, your house will decrease in value. I'd recommend shortening first world real estate from 10 to 20 year period. Yeah, I don't know or what you're saying. I think part of it is regionally dependent. Now, before you all start thinking I'm rich, I live in an apartment, but my family is not rich, but there are homes owned and whatnot. And so, yeah, I personally am not worried. Not saying again, I'm not going to be rich guy driving new Mercedeses around or anything like that. Unless, of course, I get really popular here on YouTube and y'all start giving me money and things. But unless that happens, no, I'm not going to be. So this is not. Now, I know my lifestyle is much better than the, say, average person in China. God, it's much better than that. Okay, back to this. Highways. So the 1% efficiency boost that you get from national highways is good. I really think Germany, I would do it for Germany even if I didn't give it to you for free as TRE, because I do like saying that I think they had national highways well enough in advance to have that effect in Germany starting in 36. So you don't have to pick it. But I don't think America is going to have supply throughput problems. Because if we look at the globe here, and we're playing as America, we're not probably, I don't plan on going to war with the Soviet Union. And if I am moving U.S. forces across Soviet territory, my supply throughput won't affect things. So yes, if somehow if I come in here and it's Soviet home core, I think I would just be liberating it. I don't know how that works since they're in a different faction, so I wouldn't be sure of that. Because again, I've not played this from either the Soviets or the Americans before. I have played it from the British, but the British have never invaded what had been, core territory, Soviet Union. But so generally speaking, so if I decide to send an armored corps to go help along with the fight the Soviets, it's going to be Soviet territory. Otherwise, we're going to simply be, invading the coast, and picking up coastal ports as we, even if we do a classical D-Day, come along here and pick up coastal ports. We don't really supply throughput of roads. Really is not going to be the big determining factor, like it is getting deep into the Soviet Union. And again, here we're talking. We're going to have a shipborne, seaborne supply wherever we're taking territory. So I'm going to choose not to do national highways as a strategical thing here. 50s are pointed out. Me several times. Yeah, I know. You lived in America twice, and your health care is of similar standard and no way better than ours. However, what if you have no insurance? Yeah, well, if you have no insurance and you're poor, you get government insurance. It's called Medicaid. As opposed to Medicare is for older people, Medicaid is for those who don't have it. Shortening is basically sell now, buy later. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, my family has done the opposite. They've bought houses now. In fact, my dad just bought within the last couple of weeks another house in Arizona. Yeah, thinking that it's going to be better than inflation and keeping the money in cash. And what the stock market has been doing recently, it's regaining a lot of what it's lost 3 weeks ago. And yes, I do watch the stock market just as a judge of how people think society's going. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to give anybody advice on what they should do with their money, because I don't know, because we're having inflation. We can have downturns in stocks really easily. China right now, if you look at a shipping map of the coast here that has the tracking signals of the ship, you'll see so many ships just parked here waiting to go into China because China's not letting them in. So the China trade is collapsing right now, and that's been giving people problems. Should give you guys finance session once. Well, it'll probably be helpful for people. So yeah, I don't. So the China trade is collapsing right now. That's going to be a problem. That's a problem with a lot of things right now. That's why I understand Starlink. Elon Musk's internet service is having a problem, as they can't get enough chips for their Starlink program, their boxes or whatever that they need to do. That's why people can't get the dishes. It's not that they can't make the satellite dishes and all the other parts. It's the chips that come from China. So we've got a few years of problems here, I think. Okay, so we're going to go with... we're going to continue political spying. Democrats are in power, so we're going to continue doing political spying. And we're going to do economic boost, and we're going to go over to short-term economic boost instead of long-term. Oh, wait, this. And we're going to end this episode here now, but not the live stream. We're going to continue with the live stream, but so no one needs to go anywhere. But just this episode will be over, so thank you so much for watching. Love to hear your comments on any of these topics, because I want to know what people are thinking and about every kind of thing. So please post below. See you next time for more, yes, even more Hearts of Iron. Okay, well, I'm going to grab up another Coke so I can keep talking here, because I've got a long ways to go still. So I'll be right back. Also, remember that we get more than 15, they're just National Health Service. It funds the welfare state, which means benefits when you're not earning enough money or none. And things like, yeah, no. Okay. The welfare state is different than socialism. Socialism is the communal ownership of the means of production. Generally control the community is generally expressed through the government. So government owned means of production. So the NHS, as far as I understand, is a socialist system in that it is the means of production is the medical industry there, the hospitals and whatnot. So that is a socialist system. Where in America we do have a social welfare system in which the government pays for your medical care, but the hospitals are privately owned, at least most of them. And they get government money to run, but they're privately owned themselves. Now, Britain, generally speaking, is not a socialist country because Margaret Thatcher got rid of the socialism in most industries and sold off most of the industries, things that were not seen as monopolies, at least, sold off. Some that may be bad, some that may be good. We can talk about the railway system in Britain. IKB is a frequent visitor here, and he knows the system very well, works in it, and pays attention to it larger than just his job as well in that going on. So mostly in Britain, it is not socialism. It is mostly social welfare. Um, Social welfare. Well, we can talk going back to Pan-Ecursenses. My Latin is terrible pronunciation, I'm sure. Bread and circuses in Rome as a welfare system. But in the modern sense, it really starts with Bismarck and a social security for old people system in Germany in the unified German Empire. In the modern sense, it sort of goes to Bismarck. But like I say, at least goes back to Rome. If not, we can find examples of it earlier. I'll be right back with another Coke. Right, coming back. What have I missed here? Okay. I am on benefits as I cannot work due to heart issues. Well, I would guess with all that you've gone through, I just got given about $1,500 to help with increased power bills. Yeah, that's a problem I've been hearing about in Europe. P.S. I know I sound like a psychopath, but no, I understand, Azad. No, and you did say at one point, I know purely economically. No, trust me, I know what you're saying. I don't think you're a psychopath. Like I said, I don't agree with all your political stances. That's unimportant, but I don't think you're a psychopath. But of course, it wouldn't be that effective. Wouldn't that effectively be Logan's Run? No, Logan's Run is more extreme. Well, let's see. Just if I miss something here, but because Logan's Run was trying to keep a society within a slowly collapsing. If you've paid attention to the details of the movie, I've not read the book, but I've watched the movie multiple times. A collapsing, literally in bubble. Certain areas had already broken down, and trying to keep a population going within that thing. I guess while the world healed itself outside. But letting people die off naturally without giving them extraordinary medical care is much different than intentionally killing people or intentionally not providing basic medical care, like treatment for basic injuries, broken bones, cuts, giving them basic surgery. And if you have relatively cheap pills that can keep you alive, or something like that, and not giving them that is different than going, oh, hey, we're going to give you, the best European heart surgeon to help Plastic Gangster. Very absolutely glad you had that help and got through it. But no one, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, no one deserves, let me rephrase that. No, because you may deserve it, because you may have done something to deserve it. But it is not a right for you to be given extraordinary services. It is not a right. A right is what can naturally sort of be done in nature. And so putting a burden of just sort of minimum practices that society puts on for you is so much different than going, oh, hey, we're going to kill you off. That is entirely different kind of thing, in my opinion. It is so different. So yeah. How much is that in euros? Being disliked. The welfare state worked perfectly for almost 80 years before hundreds of thousands of barely educated asylum seekers started to pair across the channel, escaping the dangers of France. Yes, but it's also to a point, and it's not even darker skinned people. To a point, it's asylum seekers and whatnot coming from Russia, in years, Poland in years past. I'm not, because I can't really talk with good detailed knowledge right now, but I think, again, notice my words, I think something like the NHS is more or less a stagnant system that doesn't encourage medical development. There isn't the rewards for medical development. I think, again, notice what I'm saying, I think countries like Britain have sponged off of the American medical and drug establishment, developing drugs as a profit, or medical techniques and medical instruments as a profit motive, that they have leached off of our technological developments, that had they been within their closed, had it been a closed system, if had, like Britain had done sort of like Japan did, way back when, and closed itself off from the rest of the world, they'd be saying, our medical system has been going great since 1945. Well, how much changes have there been since 1945? Well, none. It's been going great. Medical surgery is equal as it was in 1945, or drugs. I really think, and there probably would have been some improvement, but in my opinion, again, I'm stating my opinion here, not known facts, or facts that I could give good or even opinion I can give good concrete evidence to. But I think so much of it is, I know there's medical research and studies in Europe, trust me, I know, but I think so much of it is boosted benefits from America's research and development, medical industrial complex, if you will. And you guys do your own development too, but you get a lot of development from us too. So you get help up on certain steps, and then maybe do some good work, sure. But again, I think it's a stagnant system is my biggest complaint about it, even when it was working. Um, AstraZeneca, interesting. AstraZeneca NHS will sort itself out because UK's demographics, no need to worry. I don't know. Boris, please give us the stream a thumbs up. Yes, please. Anybody who's watching on YouTube can give the stream a thumbs up. It does help. The first vaccines and the cheapest we choose to give to the world. Okay. Who are the leeches now? Well, America gives more aid to the world per capita, not just because America's bigger, but per capita than any other country on the planet. Some of that is from government, but probably more of so much is America does so much giving through NGOs to the world than any other country, and especially in NGOs too. Per capita, not just talking America's bigger. No, per capita, we give more. So yeah, but I'm just saying that there's enough. Again, I say I'm thinking that enough of it is boosted off of the America system. I really believe that. Now, I could be totally wrong, but I really believe that. When I say it will sort itself out, I mean that there aren't enough young people, productive people to pay for it. Well, there are too many old unproductive. Yeah, you're right, Azad. It's gonna hit a brick wall. I think so. I think Europe. God, if we have to have a Ukrainian invasion, and obviously we've had to have a Ukrainian invasion because it's happened. If we had to have it, I hope people will learn their fucking lessons from it. History isn't over. If you go to sleep under the American nuclear umbrella and feel that everything will just be fine, we can give away our tanks to Ukraine. Look at Russia's proven to be complete paper tiger. It's collapsing. But in 20 years from now, Russia may be resurgent. Okay? Russia may change. You don't know. And I think I think Europe is going to go to sleep again. I think for a while they saw the Russian invasion and were like, oh shit, we got to rearm. But now I'm worried that they're going to, ain't that bad. So it will end just a matter of time. Well, I don't know if it'll end, but I think it'll have to reform. But yeah. Longer lives aren't as great as people really think they are. My granddad, one of them, lived to about 95 at home and basically taking care of himself up until almost the very end, within like last 6 months or less. So he had a great life. Yeah, starting in his late 80s, he couldn't go out and play golf properly, but he could go to the putting green, and he'd go to the putting green daily and putt around with the other old guys. And, so he couldn't go play 9 holes of golf at 80 plus or something. 70 plus, oh yeah, he was playing 9-hole golf a few times a week. When he was, a good chunk of his life, he was playing golf 5 days a week. My other one, he made it, late 70s and just fell over and died. I think he died, he had periodic heart issues. I think he had a heart issue, but he fell over and hit his head is what killed him. And so he was at home with his second wife and just fell over and hit his head due to a stroke or something, and just died that quick. So yeah, long life can be pretty good. We aren't all Buffett and murder. I don't know quite what that means, Azad. I don't get that reference. That's lost on me. So yeah, I don't know. And my dad is powering along at 70 something. I don't quite remember his exact age. I have trouble remembering my own age. But he's powering along. doing lots of busier than I am. That's for sure. So, now I know sustaining. I went through a 10-plus-year situation with my mother who got more and more bedridden as years went on, and it was more and more suffering to watch her go through, living at home most of the time, and then having a full-time care person in there towards the end, was suffering and pain. So it's not necessarily, you're right, but it's, it's an issue. Very old, very productive. Okay, yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's make another episode here. All right, we got enough time. Got about an hour before. Just to let you all know, an hour before I'm going to have to end this, and then half an hour after that, I'm going to be live over on Slitherine's channel playing Distant Worlds 2 and talking about collapses of societies and building it back up from it. That's going to be the continuing topic over there on Slitherine TV. So I will be doing that starting in an hour and a half. I'll be starting on that, but we got an hour plus here left to go. So let's make another episode. Yeah, we'll get back to something less morbid, like massive death and destruction in World War II. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 and Black Ice's Black Ice 11.2, and we're playing as the U.S. And right now it is January 1940. Germany has taken out Poland. The Soviet Union has occupied the rest of Poland. The Soviet Union looks like it's gone to war with Finland and losing some territory, it looks like there. At war with Finland, so they're doing the Winter War and are falling back. Good for you, Soviets. Getting smart. Don't try to push into Poland or into Finland. You're gonna only freeze to death. And Japan is sitting basically at peace with its conquering of China. U.S. gave bucks per capita overseas. U.S. gave. I'm not going to get into that now, but I don't know where you're getting your facts. I'm not saying those facts are wrong, but the U.S. gives so much money in private donations to overseas, through religious organizations to overseas. I don't know how well all of that is tracked. So I don't know where you're getting all that stuff per capita, per person, overseas aid. So there is so much privately done. Yes. Okay. Well, we're going to continue with this. I just don't have the facts to try to figure out what's going on. Stuff I've read back in the 90s and early 2000s that gives me my opinions, but I could be wrong. Okay. The export of zinc to Netherlands, no. They're going to die soon anyways as a country. That, so I don't know that we need to keep. Okay, so now that we've done, instead of the 10% down, we're doing the 10% boost up. We've got more industry. Okay. We've got a lot to upgrade, but again, we're looking, well, we're starting at 1940 already, so. Still going to go a bit here with or light cruisers, and yeah, we could do 6 destroyers. These will be even more modern. We're going to push all of these to the bottom. There we go. Gold mining, yay. Light carrier class. Well, good thing I didn't just put some light carriers into production. I'd have to stop them that quick. Okay, carriers. Light carrier, okay. Eliminate control. Human body, I believe. No, I don't need the link right now. But I'm also talking about a lot of the aid is coming from religious organizations in America, um, and are coming, privately, and that there's not through the government. And I don't know. I don't know the details of what they're tracking or not tracking. I'm not saying those facts are wrong. I just don't know if those facts are complete. Luxembourg is mobilizing. They will soon not be able to field a strong army. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know about military assistance. I wasn't figuring military assistance in my statement either way. Bolivia. No, I don't care about that. I think I'm managing money well enough. Okay, New Zealand. Yeah, you can have a submarine. That would be useful. So you can go after Japs or something later on with them. All right, military rations production. That is here, and that is, yes. Newport advanced recon coordination has advanced. Very nice. Okay, let's see if we get. Okay, we could do that. Get all the 39s here. Well, we'll also do 37. Okay, that use it. Well, some of it is. I would say some of charity is done for altruistic purposes. Um, Government charity, in my opinion, government charity is mostly just bribes to governments. Whether it's going into some African dictator's pocket or actually um, getting to the people of the country, it's still with governments. I believe it is primarily there to try to get governments to do. It's using soft power as opposed to, hey, we have weapons, do what we tell you. It's, hey, we give you money, do what we tell you, or the money stops, kind of thing. Whether it's effective charity or government government giving, or whether it's ineffective, that's another question. But that last year the U.S. gave a total of $1 billion in developmental aid and foreign aid. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Uh-huh. And again, I don't have all the facts in front of me to look at these things. Okay. Let's just go. Well, we just way back there. You may want to use airborne to invade and take islands and things. The Hans, you mean China? I don't think so. I don't think so. They're just new at the game and people seeing it develop. I don't think so. That one or is it? Oh, yeah, okay, it's just 38, so we'll let that continue. Okay, I will grant you that maybe for the amount they give, they're being more effective at it. I will grant you that. But I don't think they're winning. I don't think they're winning that. I think they're just. Well, I would have thought the cash and carry. We gotten rid of that. Okay, rogue politician has long been known. Oh, this is one of these BS events that I didn't remove. Okay. Yeah, for the bang for their buck, they're probably doing better. I will grant you that one. Okay, advanced education investment advance. Sort of repetitive, but okay, 44, so stop that. Okay. additional supplies and additional ammunition production. Okay. This, oh no, this and this. We are now in 1940, everyone. If you didn't know, we're all in 1940. So that means without too big of a detriment, we can start researching 1941 technology. So I see a bunch here. We could use more coal and we could use more metal, as they call it here. So let's go with coal processing. Get that processed, and steel, I guess is what they call it. Steel, whatever. Steel, metal. We'll get those two because we currently obviously have way more than enough for now, at least, oil and plenty of rare materials for now. And that may change, but for now. UK gave billion. I don't mean to go on, but the Leach government got to me. Okay, well, I'm also saying the Leach. What I'm saying is America develops a new technique or a new drug or new whatever because the companies get to make a lot of money in America to cover their developmental cost. A cousin of mine, I've talked to a cousin of mine extensively. She's a drug pusher. I forget. Again, it wasn't so much. I mean, it wasn't so much about the details of it. I forget which one. She was mentioning products that she pushes. And she literally goes around to doctors' offices and pushes these products onto them, giving here's samples and whatnot. And she's a drug pusher to doctors' offices, legal drugs, legal medical stuff. And it's done to have, and it's multiple competing products that do the same thing in slightly different ways. I remember she's telling me about some different blood thinning medicines and things and whatnot. I don't remember the details, but and comparing it to her competitors, and so you have all of these companies that are producing all of these drugs. Producing them not so much necessarily. I mean, I'm not just meaning as in making the drug. I mean developing the drug, and developing these MRI machines and other things like that are done purely from the company's perspective as a profit motive. And they're doing it and they're sinking huge amounts of money into development. And then you get those products. Now, they may be sold to Britain or sold to Canada or given away to Africa or wherever it is, but they get to make huge gobs of money in America. And then the rest of the world gets the benefit of the research and development that America makes. It's not, I'm talking about that kind of leeching of technological information, not that America is handing Britain free medicine or, I know they give free medicine to Africa of, anti-malaria medicines and other things, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the leeching off of the American medical industrial complex, because it is an industrial complex in America, and the rest of the world, I believe, is leeching off of our technological development. Oh, they may be buying their products, but their systems are not developing most of the medical advances. And maybe I'm full of shit. Maybe China is actually developing the most modern medicines in the world, and I'm just listening to America propaganda and whatnot. Maybe it is, but I don't believe so. So yeah, and that's how I'm meaning the leeching off of our development. Not that you're not paying for the pills or you're not paying for the machinery, but it's being developed in America for Americans in a profit motive situation, and they're pouring millions, if not billions of dollars a year into the research and development part of it. I'm not just talking about the manufacturing once they have it down, but the research and development part of the medical industry that they're putting in there. And to the best of my knowledge, no nation is coming anywhere near the level of research money put into development of new medical stuff. Again, I could be wrong, Plastic Gangsta. Sorry if I am, and I don't mean to offend, but I know I will at times. Um, That's actually the medical reps are not allowed. Oh, she is a drug pusher. I'm not joking about that. Now, it's not illegal drugs. It's all perfectly legal, and she only goes to doctors' offices, but she's trying to get them to recommend. So oh, you want free samples of whatever this is? Give it, in small amounts. Give it to it. Try it out. Give it to your patients and prescribe it. So when they go to the pharmacy, and their insurance company will probably pay for most of it or pay for part of it, and maybe pay the first 10 or 20% yourself, and the rest is covered by insurance or whatever it is. It varies on your insurance programs. They'll pay for it, but as long as the doctor prescribes it, they just want to get that doctor to prescribe it, so they give them free samples and enough to sort of, get you started today. Hand out enough, because the doctor's prescribing, hand it out to the patient, enough to get you hooked on it. And, the idea hooked in that the doctor writes the prescription. She's a pusher. That's her job. She is a pusher. She goes to doctor's office, not to the end user, not to the patient. She doesn't ever talk, to the best of my knowledge, in the way she talks. No, we don't talk to patients. We just go to the doctor's office. I know. I can't give them money. I can't give them too much gifts, but I can bring lunch for the doctor's office. So she'll show up with like a cake or lunch or whatever for the doctor's office. And so everybody gets who works there gets a free, Subway sandwich or whatever she knows they sort of like, or whatever it is. And she'll bring in the food and talk to them and get their attention, once a month or something. It's not like every day she goes to the same doctor's office. She has a territory. I don't know exactly how much her job has changed since COVID, but this is how it was 2019 or whatever. She'd show up and, she's there to push. She's got samples. She's got normally a not terribly expensive, especially if you look at each, person working in the office there, terribly expensive gift of food that's allowed. It can't be like a super expensive bottle of champagne, or it can't be, give them real cash, but, in like real amounts. But you can buy them lunch or buy them donuts or whatever it may be that she knows that they do. And she goes around and tries to get that doctor. Now she's, targeting doctors that would likely be, someone that would prescribe one of her drugs that her company manufactures. And so she's a pusher. And I'm using language that people talk about, illegal drugs, yes. In that way it's sort of funny. But she's an advocate, a salesman who goes to doctors to try to here's the sheet on this drug, here's the, what it does, here's the side effects, and with maybe, it's better than this other drug side effect wise, or maybe, well, if they have a bad negative reaction to drug X, use our drug Y because we've tested it that, the reasons you have, negative reaction, some people have negative reaction to drug X, well, our drug Y doesn't show that. So for that patient, you definitely should prescribe our drug instead of their drug, if they showed a negative reaction or whatever it is. And so she knows all this stuff down. She's got it down. She can go talk to the doctor. And part of it is just coming in and smoozing and dropping off a few more, samples and cruising on out of there, even just to keep them going with her stuff. So, yeah, I can say illegal, are not allowed to push drugs. They don't need to, since yes, does I? Yeah, it's see, and this is what I like about the American system is that they can compete instead of making the decision at higher levels about which drugs to use. They can compete and have multiple drugs being used, and people over time can find out that whether the new drug is good or bad. What rare side effects, what that happen in a few percentage of the population, or what are common side effects, or whatever, and choose between the different ones and have all competing ones going. That is what I'm talking about, the world leeching off of our research and development. I'm not talking about just about giving it away or whatever. I'm talking about our research and development, which I believe is the best in the world. Again, I'm not saying there isn't some great lab in Denmark that's doing really good work, but that's just, it's not an island that doesn't get influenced by other medical developments, shall we say. And yes, I'm sure that there probably are some, great labs in Britain that are doing some research. but that's just a small part of a huge pie of research that America is boosting everywhere. So, decision on drugs is made at the higher level here. Yeah, no, the drugs are it's a multi-scale decision because you go through the approval process in America to get approved to have a drug for use in the outside of testing. Use once you get that approved, and then you've got to get the insurance companies as well as each state, because I did say like there's Medicaid and Medicare. So each state runs that sort of federal. Each state runs the federal program locally. They're the implementers of the federal program locally, and so there's a difference between each state. Big differences, small differences, whatever. There's differences between each state, and will the state-supported medical thing in Louisiana here approve whatever drug as something that they would pay for a patient, so they have to approve it, and then once they approve it, then a doctor can prescribe it, or if a medical insurance company, if they go, yeah, well, we'll pay for that, whatever it is, and okay, we'll pay for it, and then they got to get a doctor to prescribe it to the individual patient, and there can be 3 or 4. I'm not going to go into my personal medical history, but this has affected me as to which drug do I want to take to help me with a condition. Something that I take daily, and it's nothing that is a mood altering. Well, I'll say it, a blood thinner. It's just something simple like a blood thinner. I need to take one. What blood thinner do I take? And there's 3 or 4 major choices out there. They will all be supported by health insurance. So it's not price for me. It may be price for them because they're paying for it. The insurance company. So price doesn't come into which one I pick. Which one the doctor prescribes to me, and I talk to my doctors which one and why. But so the doctor prescribes it. It can be of these things, and so long as it's generally approved. And so there is sort of an approval process. You need to get into the system, the drug approved into the system, that the different things will pay it. But even if the insurance companies or the different state administrators won't pay for them, well, you can still get them so long as it's a legal thing here to prescribe. If a doctor prescribes it, you can get it, even if the companies aren't going to pay for it. Some of the stuff is super expensive when it's not coming from insurance. Some of the stuff is cheap when it's not coming from insurance. It just varies, and it's all that kind of stuff going on. And so you have all this testing out over 50 different systems with a lot of different stuff going on. And I like that better than a sort of single point decision-making system that you have in Britain. And yes, Britain may have more than one blood thinner available because of different conditions. Certain styles work better than other styles, but it has a single point of decision on whether it goes to the patients or be allowed for the doctor to prescribe it. Here, you just sort of have to. In America, you get the approval that it's not like, the deadliness isn't what is potentially deadly. You take too much blood thinner, you will die, because it thins your blood out and you'll bleed, like sort of like having hemophilia, kind of thing or something, So, it gets approved and the side effects aren't too bad or whatever. And once it gets approved for being able to use in humans, then, as long as the doctor prescribes it, and this is why you have the opioid problems. Doctors, in my opinion, were just, prescription mills, we're just signing. What you want? You want opioids? Sure. We'll just. You have a headache? Yeah, we'll give you this. Yeah. Oh, you have leg cramps? Yeah, we'll give you this. Just whatever. And they were just spamming out these opioid stuff out without really checking, and I think some ways just for money. And so you do have some problems. You do have some abuses with the medical system on that kind of scale. And you have thousands or tens of thousands of people die of opioid addiction based upon at least starting with it given by doctors, maybe even appropriately in many cases, but not cut off quickly enough. Maybe you've had a serious injury and you want opioids for a while to deal with the pain, but then well, that felt really good. I want more of that. And you people get addicted, and they don't. Some doctor will keep your addiction live going, and I don't know the details of that. Warfarin or aspirin. Yeah, trust me, I know about warfarin. I'm not going to go into the details, but hey, strong. Okay, stronger is is up and running. Great, Eric. Great, great, great. So yeah, it's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on, and I like the American system in that it is dynamic and it is not rigid on the thing. And we have, even when we have federal government programs, most of them, like the medical ones, are still sort of implemented state by state, so that you can have different states. And sometimes what is great for one of these states out here may be terrible type of a system for one of these smaller states here, so. But also sometimes what is done first out here may be great for every state that'll eventually adopt it, so sometimes it may be, whether it's large or small, urban or rural, or north or south, or whatever, different reasons for some things to be better in other states. And then sometimes just we'll try out, and then you compare, and then, oh, well, that worked a lot better than the other one worked, and so now we'll do the other, we'll do the one that works the best. And so that's why I like, for all of the problems, and I'm not going to deny that there's problems with the American system, I'm just saying I think it is the best one tried yet in the world for a country of this scale. If I was Luxembourg, I would want government health care, single payer government health care. We're small. We know what our population is. Presumably, we're not letting floods of foreigners in, so we know what our population is. We know what our costs are going to be. And if there's going to be a few people that need extraordinary stuff, well, we'll pay to put them on a medical flight to America or somewhere else. A few people that get a extraordinary whatever. But just, we're going to do Luxembourg. That would be, I would have a different opinion if I was a Luxembourger on what I want my system to be. I wouldn't want a bunch of competing hospitals with a bunch of competing whatever. That would just be too much for Luxembourg. So I'm trying to use that as sort of the opposite end of the scale, but still something more than Liechtenstein or some, small little nothing of a thing. So looking at it in that sense, for a large scale, now obviously we're sort of a mega scale in America, but for a large scale system, I think America is the best in the world. And like I say, at some point I would want a single payer. Luxembourg, like I say, is the opposite thing, but it goes. So yeah. All right, back to playing. Okay, so we have a little more research because we're pulling off where. Okay, rare materials 35. Well, we're probably going to need more rare materials coming up here, so let's go with that. And thank you, Eric, for helping with Strong Arm. Guys, I'm really glad of the community that is building up around my channel. I want to say community because, like Eric, who is helping Strong Arm today get his computer running, and they both, found and are part of the community here. And it's not just me or what the center is. You're helping each other out, and a lot of that happens over on Discord. So I don't know if Arno wants to put Discord up links in the chat right now or not, if he's still paying attention. But we hang out, talk about things, whether in text or in voice at different times. Really like a lot of people getting together here, and I'm really happy. I'm more happy when I see I show up and there's 2 or 3 people on the Discord server playing some game together, and it doesn't involve me. I'm more happy than when it does involve me, just because, hey, you guys are finding each other. That's really cool to me. Okay, brigade command structures advanced. Is that? No, that is over here. I think. Okay, 41. We have 40 technology, so let's do new regimental combat teams. So if you want to be part of it, yeah, check out the Discord. I'm sure there's links around. Okay, introduction help. We're gonna turn that off for a year just in case we ever want it back. Disable for 1 year. It'll be rendered as net. The handle, okay. We're gonna choose industrial for the Philippines, and again, I'm just going army. Not exactly sure what that's doing for them, but go for army. I don't need you to have industry there. More than you sort of already do. Okay. Artillery unit training. Well, we are now 1940, so 1940s technologies aren't good, are fine to do, but let's do some of these 39s that we're still sort of trying to catch up on. Okay, Army headquarters have advanced. Okay, that's just still 36, so let's continue that. And here, okay. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, I don't know that we need to do. I'm just gonna do postpone. Okay, Venezuela, now I'm gonna get more and more greedy on that. Okay, artillery unit command control. Move this down to, yeah, Marine Corps unit training. Mass events advance. All right, good. 42, let's come over here. Well, we're gonna wait on oil refining just because we are super ahead on that. We don't need to push early, I don't think. I don't think. I'm writing vehicles, tracks, and suspension. Okay, grayed out. We've got till we get to extra wide tracks. We've got that just fine. Small warship screws and rudders. Very good. Cancel. Okay, well, let's do torpedo boat. I don't know if we're going to build torpedo boats, but armor unit training. And let's move that other over to motor torpedo boats. Smaller. Remember that the political triangle, they ain't got one in Hoi 4. Have they? Doesn't every country float around closer to one of the 3 points fascism coming? Well, and Hoi 4 is set up to be able to have more factions than this is more of a, yeah, you can see this as, democratic, communist, and authoritarian or fascist or whatever. You constantly have Switzerland, who is very democratic, staying very away in the middle here. This is really, yeah, there is ideology here, for sure. In these three things, but China, the hell ain't democratic. And it's closer to fascism, communism than it is to democracies. Nationalist China, if it was still around. So, yeah, they've gone with a different way of looking at it than this, but yeah. Your Ruskies don't have anyone in their corner, do they? Well, they got these guys here. You see, they got, let's see, Soviet Union, Mongolia, and Tuvan People's Republic. But yeah, they're sort of on their own. Yes. Light cruiser armor thickness advances. Light cruisers did have armor, but weren't very well armored. Okay, that would be right there. I know we can do 41 technologies, so yeah, I'm probably going to trickle out a battleship or two, but I think the thing we're going to trickle out maybe a bit more carriers. So we're going to do early. Let's do some carriers here. Carriers. Let's do carrier screws. They drift towards those groups they're aligned with in the war, if not politically. Yeah, because we can look. Romania has its fascist party. But they're trying to drift towards France and Britain, but France and Britain are saying nope, because France and Britain knows they're not going to go to war over Romania, especially early on. It's over Soviet aggression more than it was over German aggression. So it's more factional, I would say, than ideological. Though of course, some people want to call Portugal and Spain as fascist states. I do not call either of them fascist states, but they were both dictatorships. They were both nationalist states. Salazar of Portugal hated Hitler. He even writes a book and publishes in Portuguese. I don't know how many other languages translated into, but in that it's an anti-Hitler, anti-Nazi book. He hates it enough that he writes a book and publishes it. And he, of course, wants to have nothing to do with any of these powers in here, and during World War I had been on the Allies and more or less just wants to stay out of the war in World War II. But if anything, it was, and they allow the Americans, without firing a shot, allow Americans to invade and take over the Azores during the time. I mean, the Portuguese are still there and still administering it locally for themselves, but the U.S. put in some bases and whatnot to anti-submarine warfare. So, but they're, he's an authoritarian, he's a nationalist authoritarian dictator, goes until 75, or is it 74? 74, 75, right in there. And Franco, he doesn't like the Germans terribly much. He has a lot of fascists in his government, but he is not a fascist. He is a nationalist, and he's a dictator. So, the Iron Guard, that's exactly right over there in Romania. And they do there's coups and whatnot. And I don't remember all the details going back and forth of when the Iron Guard is in power or the king and whatnot. But the Germans generally preferred to have the royal government in charge and have Antonescu sort of running things a bit, sort of traditionalist, but because they saw the fascists as sort of, not maybe the. No, plastic gangster. That's not true. Extreme right-wing totalitarianism is fascism. No. Fascism has a socialist aspect. Fascism is nationalist socialism. Not national socialism, but nationalist socialism. It is hierarchical socialism, not leveling socialism. Franco is not interested in socialism. Just isn't. So he is not a fascist. He is an authoritarian nationalist. National socialism is not, Germany's National Socialism is not at all like fascism. I don't know if you've missed all my lectures on how they're different. I don't want to go into it right now. But Germany's National Socialism is very different from fascism. What they share in common is hyper-nationalism. They share that in common, yes. They share the collective. They share the collective ownerships of the means of production. They share that in common with fascism and communism and socialism. National Socialism does. They believe in government. The people collectively own the means of production. That they share. But Hitler wants a competitive, meaning instead of a planned economy of a socialism, he wants a competitive system. Not capitalism like you see in the West, market capitalism. No, he wants a competitive system, and he even does that within government. So it is a different structural system, but it shares, and it is a the other thing that it shares with fascism is wishing to tear down the old order, guys with the name Count and Duke and whatever, that the fascists wanted to get rid of too. But both of them tolerated, National Socialism and fascism, tolerated people with titles and whatnot, but they wanted to get rid of it. So they were a radical reorganization of society. But beyond that, there is almost nothing similar between them, other than that they want to be totalitarian. They want to own collectively want to own the means of production, and they are hyper nationalistic. Other than that, they're almost exactly they're not at all the same. You're just using very colloquial terms of fascism and whatnot, not talking about how we use it here. Fascism, political headed. No, fascism. No. Okay, that's Webster's is wrong. Webster's is wrong. That's the sort of a colloquial, stupid. That's what the communists want to say. You gonna trust communists for your definitions? Because I can argue that fascism and National Socialism are left wing. I mean, there's arguments either way, but I can argue successfully that they're both left wing organizations. But the German system became many things. Hitler despised massive centralization. Yes. But I'm talking about what they believe ideologically as opposed to what is pressured on Germany by the war. See, Germany by the war is pressured into a single-minded effort of fighting that war. That is not what Hitler wants, and I do not believe that that's what Hitler would have had he won the war for Germany. So that is different. What is pushed on him by the war, it's sort of like Stalin is doing everything he can, in my opinion. I'm not a Stalin expert. I didn't take a history course on Stalin. I took a history course in university on Hitler, just on Hitler, not on Nazism, not on Germany in World War II, just on Hitler. Now, of course, we covered Nazis and covered World War II, but it was hyper-focused on Hitler. I've had that university level course on Hitler in my educational career in university. Okay, I've not had that on Stalin. Sorry, I don't know Stalin as well as I know Hitler. But to the best of my understanding, Stalin is trying to erase the Russian identity and definitely trying to erase the church in the Soviet Union. Once the war happens, he very much turns on Mother Russia and starts tolerating the church a little more. Never really pumps the church up, but tolerates it a bit more, but flips on Mother Russia and fight for the motherland, and really flips on Russian nationalism, but only once the war starts. He is ideologically wants to reduce nationalism, but he changes that purely not because he believes it's better or anything, but purely because it is for the war. So I don't look at that as a change in Stalinistic ideals. Stalinistic ideals is, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and have, general republic or multiple republics, whatever, for every single culture on the world as it expands and controls the whole world eventually, and just have, the Soviet world. And yeah, people speak Russian in one part of the world, another part they speak Turkish, but try to minimalize the idea of national identity as of any importance. It just sort of whatever. So yeah, I'm not buying dictionary definitions that are bullshit. So yeah, governmental systems led by a dictator having complete power forcibly regimenting all industry of nationalism, racism. The dictionary, that is the dictionary, have something desired definitions, but their definitions, and you cannot. Well, I think they're making up their own. What gives them authority to making up? Why are they getting that authority, plastic gangster? Johnson writes a dictionary. And, he's the first one writing a dictionary, right around 1800, give or take a few years there. That is the first English dictionary. Are you going to allow a non-fascist to define fascism? That would be like allowing a communist to define capitalism, okay? Well, that's what the dictionary says. You can't make up your own, can you? Well, the communist wrote that dictionary. Well, it's sold on the market. No, I'm not going to allow the control of the language just because of that. Well, yeah, I'm forgetting the name, but Johnson, he's the one that's writing the first dictionary in England, right around 1895, 1810. I don't remember exactly when it's, or is Johnson the aide? God, sorry, I forget some of these things when we're pulling out. What? No, the very first dictionary in Britain, the very first dictionary. I remember there's a Blackadder episode on it, if you know what Blackadder is. That's the first dictionary, literally, in English, at least, first English dictionary. And we're speaking in English, so I'm, referring to that, and I don't know what other languages, when they've come up with their first dictionary, if they did be prior to that. I'm sure dictionaries in Russia might well have dictionary definitions, especially of communism. Yes, but I'm trying to look. When I'm looking at communism, I'm trying to understand how Marx defined communism. Okay, I'm trying to understand it as they understood it. It is not a pro any of these things. I'm trying to understand when a capitalist, a free market capitalist talks about capitalism and what it means. That's what it means to me, not what a critic, or however you want to say it, of capitalism wants to call capitalism. What does a capitalist call capitalism? How does he define, he or she, I use the term he, but he defines capitalism. I'm looking at how the fascist defines fascism, not how an external right or left, or, whether it's a monarchist, because there was still, because, we clearly, by the definition, Italy was never fascist because Mussolini never had full control in Italy. He wanted it, but he never had it. The king was in charge. The Royal Army was never controlled by Mussolini. It was controlled by monarchists within the Royal Army. So Mussolini never, so the Italian state wasn't a fascist state by their own definition, because the royalists had a strong share of power. Sure, they'd kicked the socialists and the other leftists out of government, but there were still the royalists there, and there was constant tension in the church. He had to come to the Concordia, or whatever it's called, with the church, and let the church give primary education to the children, not the state. He, of course, wanted the state to give education to the children, but it just secondary, like high school and above, was run by the fascists. Lower level, it was run by the church, not by the state, is my understanding. And I can be wrong. He's spelled Clift as Clift. Oh, Samuel Johnston. That's right. That's the name I was looking for. Samuel Johnston. Oh, yeah, well, definitions do change, but I'm trying to look at the definitions of the people that used it. And when I'm talking about National Socialism, I'm talking about, in most of these terms, Hitler's National Socialism of Germany, Mussolini's fascism, and I don't know the details how it differed, but the Phalangist Party, there was and that's what they called it in Spain, is sort of Spanish for fascist, the phalange, the bundle of sticks with the axe. The Phalangist Party in Spain, how they define, I don't know the details how they define it, but they called themselves fascist. the Phalangists had a lot of influence in Franco's government. It's what is it, Salerno or whoever the guy is. The foreign minister for a while during this period was a member of the Phalangist party. The Phalangists had a lot of influence within the nationalistic government. There were also monarchists. The monarchists sort of went out because Franco turned on his death. He turns the government back to the monarchy instead of trying to put his heirs or another dictator in charge. He turned it back to a monarchy, knowing that it was going to be opened up to a more democratic system. But he believed, and so far has been the case, he did not want that democratic system to be able to swing to the extreme left of communism or to the extreme right of fascism. He wanted it, because Franco, I don't think, it had the radicals, the Republicans as they become known in Spain, had they not been assassinating people and moving more and more extreme left, I don't think Franco would have approved of the revolt. I don't think there would have been a revolt had it just sort of stayed in middle ground. He might not have been happy at all the policies, but I don't think Franco, Franco is, does not, in my understanding, Franco does not organize up the coup that happens that starts the Civil War. And I've looked into it to some degree. It's more, oh shit, there's a civil war fighting. He's been in exile here. He's brought in to lead it now that it's happened. And so Phalangist comes from the term, armed infantry Macedonian hoplites. Oh, okay, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And not the bunch of sticks. You're absolutely right. But you're absolutely right about that. But they're the ones in Spain that call themselves. But it's the same sort of idea of massed together. They're the Spanish version of the fascist party, the Phalangist in Spain, and they call themselves a fascist party. Franco did not call himself a fascist. I looked at him. Salazar, his Novo State Party, his New State Party, is not a fascist party, but a party of the same name at the same time in Portuguese-speaking Brazil was a fascist party. The Novo State Party in Brazil was fascist. They called themselves fascist, and they had different ideology than Salazar's party in Portugal. So Salazar was not a fascist. He did not approve of fascism. So these are not fascism. Dictatorship is not fascism. Mussolini was never completely in charge in Spain. He wanted to be, but he had the Catholic Church to deal with, and he had the royal government to deal with, and those he never was able to overcome either one of those during his period in power. So it is a mixed form of government there between royalty, between theocracy, with the church. And the church, yes, there's not just, there's the Vatican, but literally the Catholic Church, my understanding, controls early education in children. They run the schools for young children. That's why he very much does that youth party movement early on to try to get outside of school, to try to get to mold the young minds into becoming fascists. But the church still has hold throughout the entire Mussolini regime on education, and he has to accept and comes to I think it's called the Concordia on it. So his government does not fit their definition of fascism. So, he wants it, but he doesn't achieve it. I thought the war started when Franco. No. You look into Plastic Gangster, and there's some good stuff on YouTube. What starts it is, there's a very popular general, I forget the name, sorry. He is arrested one night at his home in Madrid. The next morning, his body is found with bullet holes in the street. The government says, he was trying to escape. So they shot him. But he peacefully went with the police, and it was the police who come to arrest him. And he was a very prominent general, very, very popular, more popular at the time than Franco. And he is arrested, and he winds up in the morning dead in the gutter on some street. People just find his body laying there. So they're not sure whether they took him into jail and then shot him, or on the way to jail they shot him. But he peacefully leaves his home, goes with the police unarmed, and and presumably he knows he's going to a police station and doing that. And there's a bunch of police around it. It's not just like two cops. It's a bunch of police come and arrest him, and they find him dead the next morning. That triggers a cabal of local, meaning up here in Spain, not Franco down there, of Spanish generals who try to do a coup against the Republican government. The coup fails. that breaks out the Civil War. The nationalists, as they become known as the rebels or whatever, because they're cooing against the internationally recognized government, is going to fail. It's going to fail because they don't have enough support until Franco, who is in internal exile out here, and his army that he had trained up earlier and been fighting out in the desert is sitting out here, until those are flown by Germany. Well, actually, it's a British pilot and a British plane, a civilian British pilot and a civilian British plane fly Franco to Spain. So the Brits fly Franco. Okay, thank you, General Mola. That's the name. Yes, I forget these names. A British pilot in a British airplane flies Franco to Spain. It's the Germans who show up with their Ju-52s and transport his Spanish army in Africa, mainly down here, I believe, flies them up to reinforce, because their army would have collapsed early on had you not done that. But it's only at that stage, and there was a lot of death squads. There were death squads on the right, there were death squads on the left, but the death squads on the left were often the police, and were none of the deaths, at least according to popular thought, none of the deaths that were on the right were being investigated by the police. They just never found who done it when a right-winger got killed. Okay, guys, I'm running out of time. I know you're hearing the alarm. I've got to do another stream here for Slytherin coming up. Oh, let me stop this. Hold on. Sorry. Having too much fun. Coming right back. Set that alarm just for this reason. I'm going to be doing a stream coming up in approximately a half an hour over on Slytherin TV. We will be playing Distant Worlds 2. I will be talking about post-collapse societies and so how societies might collapse and they're resurgent. Mullah died in... Well, is it Mullah or somebody it is that he gets arrested? Okay, Eric. Yes, red alert. I'll be there. So yeah, I'm going to be switching over, taking a quick break and switching over to Slytherin. Playing Distant Worlds 2, we'll be talking a lot about, with some authors like Jerry Purnell, if you know his writings. Yes, okay, yeah, okay. I'm sure I'm getting some of these names wrong, guys. Hello, Fokku. I'm sure I'm butchering the French. But yeah, so build ships for Britain. Yeah, we'll do that. Order placed. Who with United Kingdom? Yes, we'll do that. Okay, we're back to medium popularity. Good, and I'll cover this next time. Save this. And so some of these conversations, some can be picked up on the other side, but not Spain. We won't cover Spain. Like I say, in a few minutes, in about 30 minutes, if you want to show up there. So yeah, I'm sure I'm getting some, but I know it was a major Spanish general who was in semi-retirement, but in Madrid, who's arrested, and that triggers the general's reaction to getting going, and then not the British government, but a British pilot is hired to fly Franco to Spain, and then the Germans, yes, they come down and get the Army of Africa, or whatever it's called, up to Spain. And so I think so the culture in Spain between the radical left, and the various right-wing elements we're coming to a head, and we're going to clash one way or another at one stage. And the left, like I was saying, I know I'm taking a few more minutes here, but no one was really being brought to justice for the assassinations of right-wing personalities. Whether it be a landowner somewhere or whatever, no one was, would be killed. Maybe he was a bad, evil dude, I don't know, pushing people off what they thought were their homes just because he had ownership of whatever, property rights, and these were peasants he put it on. Whatever it might be, he may have been a bad person, but he's assassinated by somebody else. But nobody was seriously investigating it. No one was being arrested. But if a left-winger was killed by a right-wing death squad, the police would try to hunt them down, arrest somebody they believe was responsible. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, and they would go to jail or be executed or whatever. So the state government was being seen as being in control by the left, and death squads and whatever were happening. And so the state, the police, and whatnot were not neutral arbiters. They were on the left, and so the right feels that they had no choice but to rebel, or they were going to see a Bolshevik type takeover at some point. That's what they believe is going to happen. Whether it would or not, I don't know. Different question, but that's what they believe is going to happen, and so they react, and that's how it goes. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. I will hopefully see you tomorrow. We're going to be playing, well, I don't know, maybe I maybe still Postscriptum, the sort of joint tank crew game. If not, it will be War Thunder, but one of the two. So thanks, everybody. I will hopefully also see you soon over on